Welcome to 20th Century Geek. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to 20th Century Geek. We are in the 20th Century Towers, and I'm joined by the comic book guys. Are back again. I've got back. I couldn't.
For more.
That's it. They've been travelling. You've been off journeying like a pilgrimage around the world.
And return just for this.
You have. You've come back. I couldn't do Superman without you guys.
That's it now.
I've
Yeah.
had to bring you in. You've returned from Transylvania.
Transylvania, yeah.
You
The
were,
spookiest place in the world.
you were hunting Christopher Lee,
Yeah.
and now you're back.
Yeah, he wasn't there. He wasn't
Was
there.
it? Yeah.
No, he was
No.
dead weird. I don't know what's
Yeah.
happened.
Dead being the word.
Yeah, but is he the undead?
Oh.
That's it. He doesn't actually die. He'll come back.
It's
Sort
got
of
to, surely.
yeah, literally like a reboot at
Yeah.
some point.
Yeah.
Just sit upright
Not
in his
long.
coffin and
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it.
and there we go.
One more Dracula film to go. Just like a fly on the wall documentary.
Just waiting for him to come out.
Yeah.
Hours and
Fly on
hours
the
of
wall. Yeah.
hours and hours of footage of
You just have
nothing
to
happening.
hope he comes. Like, you have to pass on the documentary to
Yeah, the next
of
generation.
kin
Yeah.
until he
Yeah.
eventually wakes
There's a
up.
producer somewhere going, I don't think he was serious. He might have been joking.
Come on.
He's not really Dracula. Alright, so Matt, Jordan, you're back then.
Yes.
Do you want to introduce yourselves again just quickly so the people know who you are? If they've not
Yes,
listened
I
before?
am Matt Reed.
And I'm Jordan.
And we used to own Super Shakes,
Yeah.
So,
comic books and milkshakes for all of the family.
yes.
Yeah. And now you're just like wandering minstrels around.
That's
You're
it,
yeah,
around.
that's it.
yeah.
We've
No,
broke
but-
the chains of retail and decided to wander the plains of the earth.
That's
Yeah.
it.
From chains to planes.
Yeah.
That's our new 3-part series coming out.
That's it.
Yeah.
From chains to
From
planes.
chains to
Yeah.
planes, yeah.
Well, the travels of a sadomasochist. Well, we're here today to talk about Superman, and Superman in particular. We're talking about Superman on screen,
Yeah.
and it's been 80 years this year of Superman. And
It's a lot of years.
It
Yeah.
is. It's a really
It is
long,
a lot of
actually.
years.
And he's obviously appeared in different guises on screen. So we're going to cover off as many as we can, really, talk about
Yeah.
all kinds of different ones. But we'll start with a simple question, which, may or may not have a very similar answer. But who is your favourite? What is your favourite on-screen iteration of Superman?
That's that is a tough question.
There aren't many.
When you go with that many of them.
Yeah.
I mean, when I think on screen, I do think Chris. I'll add Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris.
Yeah.
I think
Christopher Reeves in his blue tights. That is probably the go-to Superman.
He is like the most iconic
Yeah.
version. It's funny because, if you were to compare him to another superhero franchise, I don't think any of the franchise has got such an iconic actor.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
had so many
That
iterations.
is
Yeah.
the cat and
Yeah.
couldn't do anything else because of
Yeah.
it. Sort of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
I mean, I sort of I don't count the Marvel universe because no one else has really played those characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you were to look at Batman, I don't think anyone goes, well, yeah, Michael Keaton is the definitive.
Yeah.
Batman.
Everyone has their
It's
own
always up in the
preferred
air,
version.
isn't it?
Yeah. But he does seem to have nailed it.
Yeah.
first
And I think
time
because
out.
he does nail it as well. Like he does a good Clark Kent. Like his Clark Kent is brilliant.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and his Superman is completely different as well. And a lot of them you'll be like, well, Brandon Routh is just pretty much an imitation of him anyway.
Yeah. And was directed to be so. I think,
Yeah.
really.
Henry Cavill, he's probably an alright Superman, but he doesn't have a Clark Kent
No.
as far as I'm aware.
No, he's
Clark Kent's not even in the film.
Yeah, but
sort
the
of
thing with again, if you do that as a comparison, I mean, late 70s into the 80s of the Christopher Reeve Superman.
Yeah.
They use him almost like a retro Clark Kent. He looks like a 50s
Yeah.
reporter.
Everything's
But-
sort of from that era,
Yeah,
isn't it?
he's got the trilby, he's got the glasses, and
Yeah.
the
The Art Deco
the
everywhere.
suit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
it's almost like ageless.
yeah.
Yeah.
but he looks like a dweeb. Like
Yeah.
his Clark
Yeah,
Kent
big
looks
time.
like a dweeb and acts like a dweeb.
Oh yeah.
And
Really well as well. He's got some
Yeah.
like really good. Like he slips over really well. And
Yeah, like
he's
that
comedy
really
got
does
some
timing,
good
like-
slapstick on
Yeah,
it.
going back and watching it, it's like, how does he like? That's so well done. Like,
Yeah,
his-
really good.
Yeah. And then like when you think of it as the character as well, like it's weird that he's just like he continues to keep up that facade like all the time, like even when people aren't necessarily looking and stuff, you know, like
Yeah.
to just be the overly Clark Kent about
He
it. like,
plays it.
he really
d-
does,
like,
yeah.
down to a T,
which
yeah,
is just
really.
like you really, like you say, you don't get that in the sort of
No.
modern versions as much.
no, well that's it. I think it's a weird thing of him that. You know, it's the duality of when you get a superhero of like who are they? Is he Superman or is he
Yeah.
Clark Kent? Is he Batman or is he Bruce Wayne?
Yeah.
And there's almost like a third line of actually there's
Yeah.
somewhere in the middle,
Yeah.
but they've got to play these two characters. And I think it's in Superman the movie. I think there's one moment where he's thinking of telling Lois, and he's coming as Clark Kent, and he's all hunched, and he's sort of like, you know, he's leaning, and he takes the glasses off, and he stands up straight.
Yeah.
And you see it, don't
And you
you?
see
You're
it,
like,
like,
oh, it's Superman.
Superman, and then she's about to come in, and he puts them back in, and he
Yeah.
sort of like
Yeah.
droops down again. You know, that's why he's so good because he's got complete control of his body.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's a level of confidence that I just don't think
Yeah.
anyone else brings to that role.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even now, sort of, I think even in the comics, you don't really have a Clark Kent. So there's never a question on Clark. Oh, who is Superman? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
You just see Superman, and then every now and again, Clark Kent will do something if needs be, but it's not really. No one's like, no way, Clark could be Superman. Sort of thing.
Yeah.
That classic.
Well, it's almost
I
gone.
suppose
like I say,
after
it's- I
80
think-
years,
Yeah.
Yeah, but
it's
no,
hard to keep.
it is.
keep
Yeah,
up that same.
They've tried to reignite it over and over again. They do
Yeah.
like Earth One stuff, or
Yeah.
and they go, well, this is how he deals with it, and you know, even I still think in the comic books, at least, the best way they've ever dealt with it was Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman.
Yeah, definitely.
But they seem to have done away with all of them. Like there is no real Bruce. You know, the sort of like drunk playboy character that was Bruce Wayne is gone as well.
Yeah.
Like,
Bruce Wayne doesn't do anything anymore.
no, Bruce Wayne's
Just his only Batman.
is basically
Yeah.
Batman
His own-
without the
yeah,
mask
yeah,
on.
yeah.
It's like the you know those superhero identities have gone away, which is probably why I like. I agree. Christopher Reeves is so good.
Yeah.
He's the shining light in all, even in the lesser films. to be fair,
yeah, he does pull you through some of the, like Superman 4.
yeah.
He does. The only thing that kept me on it until the very end was just, he might do something funny as Clark Kent in a minute.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he-
Well, even his Superman seems like, you know, he's
I mean-
got the character. Just everybody else, I think, sort of like
Yeah.
just doesn't get.
There's things that, I mean, it's obviously not his fault, but you know, when Superman just does stuff, you're like, what power is that? Like there's a bit in Superman 4 where someone knocks down the Great Wall of China, and he just uses I-beams that rebuild it.
All right. Yeah.
It's just
He's got multi-utility
He does,
I-beams.
It's
now.
I-beams now. It's just like, why does he do anything? Why does he
Yeah,
not just
just
sit at home and
I-beam.
just
I'll
be
tell you
like,
what. Yeah, if you wanted to make money, you
Get a
can
telescope.
Yeah. Well, no, the Superman 4 is the best example of like direct, like a production company crew, like writer, director, just not having read anything about the
But
character.
the troubling thing is, he actually was one of the writers on it.
And was it? I don't.
Yeah.
He did,
I'm hoping he wrote some of the
he
other
wrote
good
the
bits.
story for it.
Right. Because, in fact, you're right, I remember you saying, because it was him that was on
Yeah.
the big push for the whole nuclear disarmament thing.
Yeah.
And there are some. The thing is, right, if you work through the films,
Yeah.
I think all 4 films have got. There are scenes that are really, really good in every each of the films. Even number 4, there is 1 or 2 scenes that you go, that's amazing. But as they go along, there are more and more scenes where you go, oh, that's dreadful.
Yeah. That is true that you see it waning in quality with every film. Sort of thing.
Well, the fact that like a film, I mean, there's a 10-year difference between the two, between 1 and 4, and the fact I believe a man can fly in Superman the movie,
Yeah.
and I don't believe a man can fly in Superman 4.
It's such terrible effects on it. Like worse.
Undoes your belief.
You go,
Like-
yeah, you just go, oh, well,
Even how they
someone took the day off in the special effects department of that though.
they recreate like the whole bit with him and Lois flying
It's,
for like 10 minutes, which looks worse than the first film.
Right.
yeah.
And then at the end, he kisses her again and wipes her memory again, and you just think, what? Why was that in it?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
was that in it for?
No,
I don't
it was.
understand.
It's like a bit like it wasn't a good plot point when he used it
No.
last time.
Yeah, what is
No,
that?
don't
Like
just
the
use it
fucking
as
the Cosby kiss that he just
yeah.
gives him, like
Cosby kiss. I love that. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
just like so unnecessary and so like questionable. Like how many times has he used that and on
Yeah.
who? Like, just like
Yeah,
what's
so
going
Every
on?
now and then he just sort of like pummels someone from the front. He's like,
Yeah, just
no one's looking.
Watch
Yeah.
this.
some guy just wakes up in hospital like
Yeah,
I have
what
no
happened?
idea.
Who did this to you? I don't know. Don't remember any of it.
Dead weird.
But yeah, it is. It's the thing with the Christopher Reeve Superman films is that they are very much centered on the sort of Silver Age Superman
Yeah.
Definitely.
that's got that camp.
But I mean,
Element.
it wasn't. I mean, it was the Silver Age, wasn't it? Sort of
Oh, it still
time,
was.
so-
Yeah.
Maybe not the latter ones, but
No,
sort of
but
in
the
80s,
tone
but
remains.
Early
I mean,
ones, so definitely.
but that first film, Superman the movie, which I have to admit, when I first looked, when I got the DVD or the Blu-rays out, I was
Yeah,
like, right, I'm
yeah.
going to watch through this, and it was over 2 hours long.
Yeah.
I did think, am I going to get through this?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I hadn't watched it in such a long time that my memories are blurred,
Yeah,
and I did sit through it, and like, it is the first film at least
yeah,
mostly stands up.
yeah. Still enjoyable. You're still at the end, like, whee!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
the theme is just like
Amazing.
Man. Like
Yeah.
from the get go, because like I don't think I'd ever like exclusively sat down to like watch them. You know? And, like so, I put one on, and I'm like, this is so old for me because I'm so futurist. It's like I try and stay modern. And it's just like
Do you not like crystal technology?
I was like, what is this crystal tech? I was like, oh, maybe it's actually really new age and they were just ahead of the time. But like, it's just like, but like from the get go, like the opening, like the titles and everything, like really old school, but
Yeah,
like
and
just
like
names flying at you.
everyone in the film is shown in the opening
Yeah,
titles.
that's-
That's
Key
a real-
grip.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's
yeah.
that's a really 70s thing, was it, to have like huge credits before
yeah.
the film.
But I mean,
Um,
like the score is just like so impressive, like that, because like you can hear that theme like a million times a day, and like the next day when you wake up, you hear it again.
Yeah.
It's still like your heart gets pumping.
Which
and
is
like,
it's
literally
it's
what happened at
probably-
the shop, so we know it is true.
yeah,
Yeah.
We would listen to it because it was on that like
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
soundtrack.
It's one of those. It's probably the most iconic movie theme.
yeah.
It's what, if not the most, it's
Yeah.
one of. It's
Yeah.
probably in that top 5. Because I did this recently. I was chatting to a friend, and we were sort of at work. We were working through what's the
Yeah.
movie themes.
Yeah.
John Williams is
Yeah,
like
top
he
king.
owns that top
Yeah,
10. 'Cause
yeah.
You're like, oh, what's well, there's Jaws. Who's it? Oh, it's John Williams. Oh, okay, well, else? With Indiana Jones. Oh, it's John Williams. It's
Yeah.
like,
Just like,
right,
yeah.
this guy just owns
Yeah.
music.
Yeah, he's the best one. I
Yeah.
think like
I think he was,
Incredible
if he'd
composer.
been born like 200, 300 years ago,
Yeah.
he would be sort of like, Mozart who?
he's
Yeah.
Screw you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Check this out.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
Star Wars.
the modern day.
Star Wars,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
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 I call this the Empire March.
But it's just like a Jaws as
Yeah.
well, and like
Yeah.
everything. Like It's-
Like they're all just like the ones that come into your head where it's just like straight away, like you don't even have to think about it. It's just in there. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
It just impregnates your
Yeah,
mind.
yeah.
Of,
I mean, that's it. I mean, if you were to look on, I think they're on Amazon. You get those sort of the compilation of the best of.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it'd be like an Amazon only sort of thing, or like, I know
Yeah.
Apple do as I like for iTunes, and you probably get like the best of Alan Silvestri, and it'd be like
Yeah.
20 tracks,
yeah,
yeah,
and you get the best of Jerry Goldsmith, and
Yeah.
the best of Hans Zimmer,
yeah,
yeah.
who I'm not a big fan of, but then like you get the best of John Williams.
yeah.
Have you got 4 days?
Yeah, that's it.
You're
That's
listening
it.
to
And
a
And they're
lot.
all classic.
You recognise every one of
Yeah.
them as
Yeah.
well. It's not just like the 20
odd
minutes
tune.
into Riders of the Wind.
Yeah,
Like, I've never heard this before.
Yeah. So you're right. I mean that sealed it.
Yeah.
And I don't think up until that point,
Yeah,
I don't think they'd had. They nailed it like that. No other Superman. There's the Batman theme from '66,
Yeah.
but that nailed it as a theme. It's sort of
Yeah.
like- and it encompasses everything.
Because that's
about
it. It hits the tone, doesn't it?
Mm.
Like straight away.
Yeah.
Like before you even see anything, it's just
Yeah.
like right, I'm in. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
I believe in
yeah, like
McFly straight off the
I'm
bat,
ready.
yeah.
I'm pumped. Like you just,
Yeah.
you know, like you just want to punch someone in the face because
Yeah.
you're just so amped.
Yeah,
and it's
like,
like you have nothing happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna
just knock a
smash
guy
your-
out.
Smash your face in with full integrity.
Yeah, and then I'll kiss you afterwards.
But yeah, because the film then opens. Like you say, Christopher Reeve. I don't think he was he wasn't a star or anything at that point. And they had tried, I think, to cast a star. They wanted a name.
Yeah.
And the Warner Brothers and the Salclans, the executive producers, that sort of like somehow there were this father and son producer team that had got hold of the rights to Superman.
Yeah.
Like just on the off chance, like years before,
Yeah.
when everyone was out, was like, "Oh, you'll never be able to do it. You'll never be able to do it. It'll always be a TV show." And they're like, "Well, we'll buy the movie rights then."
Right.
And they sort of worked with Warner Brothers to make it, and so you end up with this sort of weird thing of these sort of like sleazy, sort of like proper, like, you know, as you'd expect like producers to be, and this huge company, and all they kept doing was like, you know how the guy who made the Room, like he funded that.
Tell me Wiseau,
yeah. But no one really knows how he got his money.
Yeah.
They're a little bit similar to that,
Right.
because they were like, no, we'll get this money. We'll get the backers in and we'll get the funding in.
Yeah.
And they kept convincing people to put money into the film.
Right.
Yeah.
And everyone said they got this budget. And even Warner Bros. Was like, I don't know how they've done this.
Yeah.
But we'll go with it, and
Yeah.
we'll spend $4 million of it on Marlon Brando for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And so that's how, like, the true reason that the like Superman 2 exists is because I think 30% of Superman the movie's budget was shifted to Superman 2, and they filmed most of it.
Yeah, because that was they sort of did it one after the other, didn't they?
Yeah, which is why you get the two sort of cuts. But yeah, that's how they did it. So this father and son combo was sort of like really, really powerful behind the scenes of getting this stuff done.
Yeah.
But knew that they didn't know a bloody thing about it.
Yeah.
And so pushed it off onto like Richard Donner.
Yeah.
And like, well, you
saw it.
Yeah.
You sort it, and we'll come in and just sort of like, you know, give them memos and stuff. And apparently they did keep giving memos.
All right.
Really? Apparently a lot of them were ignored. Thank God, man. Some of them were ignored. Because they were things like, can he do this and can he do that? And they were like, no, he can't do that. No, he can't do that. Can he shrink? No, he can't shrink. Here's a comic. Read the books. But I say it's an amazing fact that film is as good as it is.
Yeah.
Because when you look at apart from that, you got Richard Donner and some others. When you look at the shady business that was going on behind the scenes to fund it and stuff, like they thought this was going to break them. They were convinced that this was going to be a flop.
Yeah.
And they were going to try and like bury it somewhere, and then when they actually saw the dailies coming in and they started to see it come together, they were like, oh, actually, this is
I believe a man can fly.
this is actually like pretty good.
Yeah.
Because they was convinced that the only name you've really got, you got Gene Hackman and Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
But with Gene Hackman being the baddie and Marlon Brando being it for like 10 minutes, they were like, oh, this is just going to sink.
Yeah.
But it was actually the Salclans that had told Richard Donner, like, no, find Superman.
Yeah.
You know, didn't have to be a star, but find Superman. It'll sell it on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they obviously did with Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
It is like it's hard to because like obviously I wasn't there when it was first screened and stuff, but like when I watch it and like it's got all those like bits and pieces for like. It's got all the elements of like a good film, like a good action film. Like it's a blockbuster. Like you can still feel that when you watch it now. You know, like it's like you say from the start, from the score coming in, and then like just like the amount of action and like the effects for the time and everything. Like it's so like it's. I can imagine it was overwhelming. Like the first time people saw it. Like
it must have been.
Like,
to see that, the
I
budget is on the screen.
Yeah.
Rather than $4 million, which was given to Marlon Brando.
The fact that there's still like. That formula of the superhero movie hasn't really changed much.
No.
And now it's like all you get. That's everything. That's,
that film
get 20 of them a year.
Yeah.
But that film set the pace. I mean, you're right. That film sets the structure for a superhero origin film.
Yeah.
You know, it's all there. But I like the fact that like there's so many little bits to it though that I find fascinating in the film. Like the guy, the younger guy, they've got to play young Clark Kent.
Yeah.
You know, they've chosen someone who looks like Christopher Reeve.
Yeah,
It's not just a to dabble. It looks.
Yeah.
They've nailed it all. They've worked hard to make it work. That you sort of like, because all these other like bits work so well.
Yeah.
You forgive the silly elements or the fact that like some of it just doesn't make sense.
yeah. Flying backwards around the world and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or even Lex Luthor's plot.
Yeah.
Of like, right, well, I'm going to set up this nuclear device along the San Andreas fault. So I will then have Luthor
Yeah.
but not ignoring the fact that it'll be a radioactive wasteland.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. Some of it is. Yeah. It's just like.
But it's like you say,
early elements.
because you enjoy it, you don't care.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Does it?
when you accept it as like a silver age,
Yeah.
it's the 1970s. It's you accept it, but also like you say, you just accept Superman's integrity.
Yeah.
Like he is the big blue Boy Scout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He hasn't got to have a dark side. He hasn't got to struggle with
No,
demons.
yeah,
he just
yes.
is a good bloke. He makes the right choices. It is. It's a great film, and it's bizarre that, like I say, that it happened.
Yeah.
But being a kid and walking in to see that on the big screen,
yeah.
if you're like 9 or 10 and walking in and seeing that,
It definitely would just like take your breath away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, we're spoiled now because of like what CGI can do and just like the way that the movie industry
And the fact that there is one out every week.
well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just like you don't even need to stumble across one.
No.
You just fall over them, don't you? Like,
well, that's it.
it's
Like, you can literally just sort of like you can just pick a weekend and go, right, I'm going to go see a superhero or a CGI fest now, like all year, almost all year round.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most action films seem to have taken the prompt from that as well. Just like when you look at like just your standard action romps, it's just like here's your hero, like here's like insert disaster, like and then just like people just going out of their way, like it's like every other rock film. It's just like him being Superman, and just like picking up the pieces of something falling apart. Like, so it's like they set some pretty impressive sort of like bars when they. When
They really did. They set precedents. I mean, I think it's the first. It's the first true superhero comic book like blockbuster movie. Because before that, they'd never been taken seriously. You'd had 66 Batman. But it's a very different aesthetic.
The guy that produced it hated comics, didn't he?
So he just thought it was a joke.
So he made it so that he could show people how crap comics were.
So
And it was taking the mick out of the old 50s serials. Like loads of college kids at the time were like watching them again. So they're like, well, there's money here. TV show.
It was a cash cow that just happened to make it big.
But weirdly, it was quite accurate to the comics at the time. Because it was even Bill Finger was writing episodes for it.
It was. It really was. I mean, it's the thing. It's of its time.
Yeah.
But when you think of, you talk about modern comic films, and you talk about, there's a thing that sort of like seems to come up a lot within the MCU, the Marvel stuff, and a little bit with the DC stuff. Was that thing of like, oh well, they raised this. It was a drop plot thread. It was clearly supposed to be for a sequel.
Yeah.
It's a real modern thing, and that's crap. That is, they do that.
Yeah.
The first thing you see in Superman the movie is Zod, Ursa, and Nod being sent into the Phantom Zone. And it's never mentioned again in the first film. Which was clearly setting up for a sequel. You're like, well, Terrence Stamp's in this for all of like 3 minutes. I'm sure they paid him. So it must lead to something.
And then they've got like pretty much every film that has a sequel in history probably led into that film. I mean, there's some that don't, like Indiana Jones or whatever, but that's Star Wars.
That was it. I mean,
built into
as soon as
like Empire Strikes Back. Doesn't have an ending, so
exactly. Don't tell me George Lucas didn't see Superman the movie and go, I'm having some of that. Because that's when you do. You get like Superman 2. And obviously Richard Donner filmed like 60% of what he was going to film, and then there was, they didn't want to pay him again. Was basically the sort of thing. I think he wanted to. He was like, well, I'm coming back to film the rest, so you're going to pay me. And they're like, well, we paid you for that bit. So we'll pay you this much. And there's all these arguments. That's when they brought in Was it Leicester? I need to get the notes up. But yeah, they came in.
Yeah.
Was it Leicester to film the rest, and that's where you get the different versions. So I ended up watching both the Donner cut and the Leicester cut.
Yeah. See, I've not seen the Donner cut.
If you watch the Leicester cut, like the original, the theatrical
Yes,
cut,
I've seen that one.
right? It's a complete film.
Yeah.
Like you can sort of guess. You can sit and you can go Donner, Leicester,
Yeah.
for some scenes. If you watch the Donner cut, it's clearly not a complete film.
Yeah.
And so I'm sort of like, yeah, there was potential in it, but these people that say, oh, the Donner cut's better, and also it's complete crap.
Yeah.
Because it's an incomplete film.
Yeah.
It's it's like watching the theatrical version of Batman v Superman. It's just not complete. You know?
Yeah.
You need it to be. There are bits that need to be filled in. But I honestly do think the theatrical version, as it stands with what was filmed, is a better, more fluid film.
Which usually would make sense.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
That's a problem that we've got sort of nowadays, that we don't believe
Yes.
that can be the norm.
No.
It's like
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if you think about it, really, Superman 2 is a precursor to Justice League.
Yeah.
Like, you had a guy do 60% of the film, and then somebody else came in and finished it off.
Yeah.
And they slightly changed the way things went. They changed the ending, they changed the tone a little bit.
But the only difference is it worked then.
Yeah, exactly. The different, and they're both Warner Brothers as well.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough. The fact of the matter is that I think Warner Brothers backed off though, and again we're like, we need this to be done.
Yeah.
Richard Lester. I'm going to get the thing to check actually. But they trusted him. He was a go-to director.
Yeah.
So they were a bit like, well, we know you're going to do what you do.
He did like was it Hard Day's Night and stuff like that.
Yeah, he was a studio director, and they knew him, so they trusted him. They clearly didn't do that with Justice League. They just got involved all the time.
He got sacked, didn't he? It came out recently. Zack Snyder got sacked halfway through it.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is the fact that there's still, even today, on like a couple of websites like Screen Rant as well.
Yeah.
There was an article about Zack Snyder talking about what so and so means.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I read this recently.
you're still talking about this like so many years later.
Yeah.
If you still have to explain this,
Yeah.
clearly it's not on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not a very good filmmaker.
Yeah, he's talking about his apocalypse vision, isn't he?
Yeah.
And how if Lois Lane had died, that's what would have led to that.
Yeah.
Or something. Or if
but that's not what happened. So like, just stop.
I was reading something about
Stop
how
it.
the spear is supposed to be like something to do with Christ. Like, maybe,
Oh, for Christ's
It's just
I
like-
would just say, why did he use a spear?
Yeah.
Because you're a pretentious twat. That's why he used a spear. Yeah. So, but that's the sort of thing. Like, you don't see, like, there's like, there wasn't like 1987, 1988. Richard Donner wasn't coming out and like ranting about, I want this, or this was what it meant.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's a
Yeah.
film about Superman,
Yeah.
and he can wipe people's memory with a kiss.
Yeah.
All right, I'll
Yeah,
go with that.
whatever.
Fair enough.
But I suppose on the sort of the other side, you haven't got things like the internet for
No,
everyone
no.
to
Yeah.
join together and
We should
give
probably,
each other
to
your
fuel
angry
that,
opinion.
to fuel that
Yeah.
fire. So it
So
probably would have
if it
happened
came out
back in the
now,
day.
would it be like that film was terrible because he kisses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk.
It's
let's
little
talk,
things that you can get over on your
Yeah.
own, but when
Yeah.
everyone's blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
oh, I hate it,
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, I hate it as
Yeah.
well. We all hate it.
And then it becomes a
Hate
subgroup on
everything.
Reddit, and then
I
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I realise this, and you realise this quite quickly. I think when you do read these articles and see all the comments of hate and everything.
Yeah.
And there's like the YouTube videos as well. I've literally watched a YouTube video where this guy had clearly gone to the comic book store and spent, must have been like $30-40 on that week's comics. It's
Yeah.
a pretty good stack. And he was going, that's crap, that's crap, that's crap. And all I'm thinking is like, don't buy them then.
Yeah. It's your own, like,
You're the one who's funding them.
yeah.
yeah.
Idiots. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's bizarre. But
Yeah.
there's other things in Superman 2 that like there are clear comparisons to be made between
Yeah.
the different ages. Like everyone's rage over Superman killing Zod in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Right? Now when I watched it, I was more concerned about the fact that I spent 40 minutes watching a fight.
Yeah.
And I was a bit like,
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
that
That was my problem.
I've got to go home
It's
soon.
like,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
man, when is he gonna beat
Yeah.
him up
Yeah.
here? Like, because when someone's fighting that long
Yeah.
and no one's getting hurt,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're just like, that is the equivalent of just you and someone you hate just knocking each other's shoulders for
It
40
is.
minutes.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
And then like knock a shoulder, hit a hammer against a wall, knock a shoulder,
Yeah.
break a window.
Yeah.
No.
Well, the thing, like, the one thing, even the first time I watched it, and I remember being like 20 minutes into that fight,
Yeah.
all I could think of is when people say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
Yeah.
So to see him punching Zod in the face for like the 80th time,
Yeah.
thinking,
Yeah.
didn't work all those other
Yeah.
times.
Why are
you still doing it? Like, do
But I
something
can't help but
different.
think that with Superman Returns,
Yeah.
everyone moaned because he doesn't throw a punch.
Pretty
Oh my God,
much,
he doesn't have a fight. So then, because they all moaned about that,
They went the other way.
Yeah, they were given
Just
the
like, here you
extreme
go,
opposite.
boys.
Yeah. You wanted it. You're
Yeah,
gonna
you
get
want-
it.
You're gonna get it for 14 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh man, that's too many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
And then
always-
because they destroyed too much stuff.
yeah, then there's everything they make, basically everything from Superman Returns onwards.
It's
was
been an
an
apology.
for
Yeah.
the previous film. Why don't you just
I
make
can't wait to
something?
see what the apology is for Justice League.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Maybe it's just going to be like a good film.
yeah. Nope. Let's be
Can't see
honest.
myself. But this is it. But the thing is, like, when he kills Zod, I was one of those people that thought it makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
you've done this. There is no other alternative. Like,
Yeah.
Zod has actually told you this is your only alternative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't kill me, I'm going to level this planet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, all right, that's the choice I'm left with.
yeah,
So when people are raging against it, I'm like, there was no alternative.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
all. That's the
Yeah.
point of the end of that film.
yeah,
But when you watch it in Superman 2, it's a very different film.
yeah.
Because the gist of the film is at one point he loses his powers.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
He willingly
That's
gives
when
up
he
his
yeah.
powers.
when
And
he
it's-
walks to the Arctic.
Yeah.
in his
man.
jacket, like
Yeah.
with no powers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just
there's,
like-
there's a lot. I didn't know there's a diner just by the North
Just-
Pole.
Yeah.
Just by the-
Oh, yeah.
North Pole Diner.
yeah.
But
Well,
still,
no,
you know
'cause
when
he-
he goes back there,
Yeah.
like, even though it's so stupid, but then he goes back there and beats that guy up,
Yeah.
and you're like,
The Ice Road Trucker.
Yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
come on,
Yeah.
now we're talking.
I was expecting him to full on deck him as well. I was
Yeah.
like, here we go. And then he just like, what does he do? He
Trips him,
hurts his
basically.
hand, spins him around on the chair, and then
Yeah.
pushes him into a pinball
Yeah.
machine.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that was the like,
You want to see him going and like melon his head.
yeah,
Smash
literally,
his
yeah.
head.
Just
Do it-
like,
Just walk out.
Full on do a Zod and just crack his neck.
Yeah. Yeah.
just like burn
And then
his
cry a bit.
flesh, like
Yeah.
from his feet upwards, like slowly.
And then at the
Heat
end,
vision, bitch.
after that, give him a kiss.
yeah.
Kiss everyone in the room.
I was gonna say kisses everybody in the bar
Yeah.
and then leaves. And
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
They're like,
was
what's
that?
Yeah.
going on?
Just,
See the guy? He was really friendly.
Yeah. Why are we all
Yeah.
in oblivious pain?
Yeah.
yeah.
But then, what's with his bruises? But he, like you say, he willingly gives up his power to be with Lois. Like,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
becomes mortal or whatever. And then he has to make the choice to
Yeah.
get it back
Yeah.
and all this other stuff. And that's actually really interesting in the film
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
that thing. And again, Christopher Reeve is a really major standout in that film
Yeah.
for portraying that quandary he has to go through. But it's also clearly a sort of it's a setup for the ending. Now,
Yeah.
spoilers,
Yeah.
because we're going to talk about a film that's 30 plus years
Yeah,
old. But he then reverses it.
The irreversible.
That's
thing.
the first part, because the hologram tells him,
Yeah.
once you've made this choice,
Yeah, you
you will be
can't
mortal
go back.
forever,
Yeah.
unless you press this button. So yeah, he gets his powers back, but then he reverses it so that he removes the powers from Zod and
Yeah.
Ursa and Non.
Yeah.
So they're mortal people,
Yeah.
right? He
Yeah.
then goes out
Yeah.
fully powered up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like 3 Kryptonians worth of
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Kryptonian.
literally
Yeah.
stolen their power to
Yeah.
fuel himself. So let's go back there. Man of Steel, superhuman versus superhuman. One
Yeah.
of which is let it be known he is going to kill everyone on Earth.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm sort of with that.
Yeah.
Superman 2,
Yeah.
he's depowered them
Yeah.
and then kills them
Yeah.
Yeah.
without a blink.
So
Yeah.
jovial, isn't it? Like, because he like literally just like chucks him into like the dry ice of Antarctic, and then Lois turns around and just punches the last one into it.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, "Hey, good time, guys."
And none
that's what
just
they
goes
really
and
wanted.
falls.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
just like
And you're
tries
like,
to fly.
yeah, and you're just like, well, how's that done?
Yeah, and it's like they're dead now. Their bodies have been frozen to the point where like the parts inside of them don't work anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they've died in freezing agony.
That's it.
And you guys are just having a party, like just
Yeah.
bantering
Save
with
the
like
world.
Lex Luthor back on the surface.
No one even needs a kiss at this point.
Yeah.
We're all having
Well,
a
It's
laugh.
like-
that's the other thing, right? So this is the thing to mention, right? So in my point of view, Superman at that point is like the jolly killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has killed
Yeah.
them. He has killed depowered people.
Yeah.
I've got a bigger issue with that
Yeah.
than I do with like Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Because surely they're human at that point, aren't
Exactly,
they? So it's
yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
well,
Then what are they going to
do
do?
they not warrant
Yeah.
saving like everybody else?
Yeah.
No,
like the
clearly
cats
not.
from the
Clearly not.
trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Clearly not. But there is something to know from the original Donner cut though. They didn't die.
all right.
So this is where there's a weird choice. There was
Yeah.
actually footage, and I never told yet, where they are picked up by these strange American Arctic police,
Yeah.
which I'm assuming is supposed to be Alaska. So it's not even really the North Pole.
Yeah.
So they do come out in an ice river, and they're picked up and they're arrested and taken away.
Yeah.
So in that one, at least you're like, oh, so
Oh,
he
yeah.
didn't kill them, they didn't die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't know that. He still tried to kill them, as far as I'm
Yeah, yeah.
like you say, he's dunked them in sub-zero temperature water
Yeah.
in shiny, like weird suits,
Yeah.
and gone, I'm out. I'm
Yeah.
done.
Soz.
Yeah.
They're not Arctic like capable suits as
No,
well. Like
no,
the
they are
deepest
not.
V of all time.
Yeah.
Like
There's some real serious
Yeah.
chest hairs.
It's
Yeah.
almost like an eye. It's like an eye.
Yeah.
It stops being a triangle and just becomes
There
a
is-
rectangle.
Yeah.
There is always like, when I
It's a
watch that,
jacket at that point.
when I watch that film, like, at that point they're all off to the disco. John
Yeah.
Travolta's like, I'm having 4 of them.
Yeah.
But when I watch them, that is something that stands out to me, because when you see Ursa dressed as that, you're like,
Yeah.
in the 70s to early 80s, that is an acceptable like
Yeah.
villainess costume. Like she collects the badges on it, which I really
Yeah,
like.
I thought that
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
cool
That's
idea.
a cool
yeah.
little bit of it. But then, like, can you imagine Terence Stamp, who's like a serious actor up until
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
point, trying this on and being like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Where's the rest of it?
Yeah. What is my naval launcher?
Yeah.
This is not what I agreed to.
So you got to look strong. Terrence.
Yeah, look intimidating.
You're a
What is
general.
this?
You're
Yeah.
a general. This is military uniform.
Where's my epaulets? No. Kryptonians didn't have epaulets. They went for the more shiny disco, sort of like slashes down the
Yeah.
arm look.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
I
digging
see it
this,
now.
I'm digging this.
I'm with you.
Yeah. But yeah, those first 2 films stand up as actually they do stand up. Like I
Yeah.
can watch those
Oh
first
yeah.
2.
You can still watch them.
Yeah,
now.
and there's a fun.
You let stuff off because of sort of when it was made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because it's the first of
Yeah,
some
yeah.
of the
Yeah,
superhero
yeah, and I
films.
think that sort of like really set
Yeah.
set the standard for what
Yeah.
came later. That's when it starts to change, though, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Is 3 the one where there's 2 Supermen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
and
but it's basically a Richard Pryor comedy.
yeah.
'Cause-
It's Richard Pryor and friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Super Friends.
Yeah. Super
And
Pryor.
2 super
Yeah.
friends.
Super Pryor and Chris. You know,
Yeah.
with guest star and Christopher Reeve.
Yeah, and that's not great. That one.
No. And again, there's bits in that are funny.
Yeah.
And I think the villain, when the fact it's not Lex Luthor,
Yeah.
is quite good.
Yeah.
And again, it changes sort of up. It changes up again because he's fought supervillains like in the
But isn't
second ones. They
it's
try.
like Richard Pryor, and isn't he working for someone that's like the same as Lex Luthor, but
It's
more
basically
boring?
would have been Lex Luthor. Yeah,
Like
it is. It
boring
could have
Lex
been.
Luthor,
It could have
yeah.
quite easily been. But he's a businessman
Yeah.
who has.
Is Lex
like,
Luthor in it still?
no, he's not.
He's in 2, isn't he?
He's in 2. He
Yeah.
appears in 2 briefly,
And,
and then he
in
appears
4.
in 4. Yeah, because Gene Hackman was just like, yeah, pay me. Just,
Yeah, I'll do it.
But the bits I like in 3 is the plot was then taken for Office Space.
All right. Yeah.
So the idea of these, because apparently it's true that, like, you know, whenever you're paid things, the interest is never a whole penny.
Yeah.
So anything that's not a whole penny gets filtered away somewhere,
Yeah.
and obviously must sit somewhere and build up.
Yeah.
So this idea of being able to steal that
Yeah.
is legit. Apparently that's a real thing.
Yeah.
And it was,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
taken for the film Office Space
Yeah.
in the 90s. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
And I also like the villain at the end when they've got this like weird supercomputer thing, and it attaches to her, and she becomes like a robot woman, and she can do all this stuff. Like that's quite legit, like threatening. I found even as a kid, I thought that was quite weird. That was
Frightened,
like, I really did. I was like, oh man, this and the Terminator have just like proving that computers are evil, despite now running sort of an internet-based podcast.
Heightened fears of the 80s.
Terrifying.
You just buckled under the pressure
I just buckled
of
under
robot uprising.
That's it. If you can't beat them, you join them.
The fear is set in.
Yeah.
Take my voice, dear masters.
Yeah. The day Skynet takes over, I'll be there. I'm like, that's fine.
For anyone that
Bow
doesn't know
down.
Scott, he's actually a laptop.
We're
just talking to a laptop.
I'm a speaking spell machine.
He popped up on our tills.
I'm nothing more than a computer virus. But yeah, that bit's all quite cool. The Richard Pryor stuff, though, starts to wane through. It's very 80s comedy.
Yeah.
And some of it's funny, some of it's not. The bit I find amazing, and this is how aged it is, like, because I'm not, having all that, I'm not tech savvy in the slightest. Like, I go to a certain sort of like numbskull level and then stop. But the fact that he goes on like a 3-day course for computer programming, and then by the end of it is building a supercomputer, is amazing. Like the 80s were awesome.
That's done quick.
Yeah. If you want to learn to run computers, join this company and go on a day-long course.
Just like,
And become a supervillain.
Yeah, that's it. Like, he becomes a supervillain like that, and then it's like, he's the first person to figure this out, and how to do it, and do it successfully.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, okay, that bit I'm starting to struggle with a little bit.
Yeah.
But this, you said about the behind-the-scenes shenanigans that were going on.
Yeah.
This is where they start to take place, and I think it starts to show because, as you say, Gene Hackman, isn't in it.
Yeah.
They were looking at, again, all the trouble they'd had between Richard Lester and Donna in the second one. They wanted to avoid all that, so they were like, okay, we're going to keep this simple, keep it straight. Richard Pryor was big at the time. So there was like, oh, he's the name, because Christopher Reeve still wasn't a star.
No,
He's Superman. Superman was the draw.
Yeah.
So they wanted the name because they didn't have Gene Hackman, they didn't have anyone else, so they brought him in. And then you get the man from U.N.C.L.E., who's the baddie. I forget the guy's name, but he was basically Napoleon Solo from the man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yeah.
And that weird thing going on there. But you don't get any, or you get minimal Lois Lane.
Yeah, she's not in that one much.
No, they replace it with Lana Lang because he goes back to Smallville, and you've got the ex-boyfriend and all these other.
She ended up playing
Superman's
Mark Kent.
Mark Kent in Smallville. But all that's because at the time Margot Kidder was going through, who played Lois Lane.
She's bipolar.
She'd gone through some serious issues financially as well. She'd because her mental issues, her mental health issues had really started to affect her. And she actually she had like a massive breakdown in public, and they were like, we want to avoid all possible
connections.
Like the last couple have been a bit strife, so the Salclans were just like, look, no, we want this to be as simple as possible. Make it quick, make it cheap, make it, no, I don't want any issues. So she can come in and do. I think she's in briefly for like one scene at the beginning because she's expected. They're like, right, get her in. Right, wrap her up, get her out.
Yeah.
And they keep it all like really simple. So that's why they went more comedic and stuff because they thought that's what would sell. Because I think the 83 feels like a real 80s film.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
It fits that 80s comedy bracket or that mold.
It's just like missing Gene Hackman basically, and then. It would be.
Do you know what? That's what it should have been. Gene Wilder should have been the. Should have been the real villain, and then you had that Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor comedy.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's a scene in it where he falls off the top of a building on skis, and manages to ski down the edge of the building, and then falls off, and then lands in the street. And then instead of everyone going like, "You just fell off a building," everyone starts popping their horns at him. He's like, "Sorry," and like struts across the street, and I'm like. Right, that is an 80s gag. Like that, you couldn't do that today with any sense of seriousness.
And it does have it has another great Superman power of the old throw the logo off your chest
Oh,
and
that's in
wrap
2.
someone
No,
up.
that's in
That's
2.
in
Is that 2, is it?
Yeah.
I thought it was
That's
the
three.
another-
only 2, yeah.
No, that's
Superman
Oh,
cling
mate.
film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 That's it.
The fact that was
Oh,
never
man.
branded. Why can't
Yeah.
I get a roll of Superman
You don't.
symbol?
He never does that since, does he? Like,
Ever before.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I thought he did it to his double.
Well, the fact is, it's the first one. No, the whole thing with the double.
Oh, it's the tyres, isn't it?
It's the
He puts
tyres.
him in the tyres.
Oh, yeah.
Unbreakable
I
tyres.
I have to admit, right, I love the because the thing, the other element of Superman 3, which is really interesting, is they synthesize kryptonite,
Yeah.
which is what causes him to go mean. So this version of synthetic kryptonite, instead of trying to kill him, actually makes him like really mean.
The
Yeah.
evil kryptonite.
He becomes an evil Superman.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that, like, to denote it, he grows like a 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
And his suit goes like a bit dirty. He's got
Yeah.
a dirty version
Yeah.
of the suit. And then he goes around doing like mean things. But like really sort of like, it starts like just bizarre though. Like he literally goes and like rips open the side of an oil tanker. And
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, screw you, and then flies off.
It is.
And then-
It's Spider-Man 3, isn't it? It's these threes.
Ah, yeah.
It's
It's
exactly
these
that.
three
It's
ones.
totally Spider-Man 3,
Yeah.
which is what I was saying. You know, you said they set the precedent for the future.
Yeah.
Sam Raimi sort of sat down and like was sat down with Sony, and they were like, "This is what we want.
Yeah.
This
You
is.
hit
This
the
is
three.
what we
We're on
want.
the three.
Pick the
Yeah.
third film. We want. Can you split Spider-Man and Peter Parker? Is that too on the nose?
Like, maybe if we have him dance, maybe that's.
Maybe
that's
that's
the
it.
technique.
If you were
Yeah.
to compare if the Spider-Man 3 dance with Superman fighting Clark Kent, and like, I bet there's got to be some sort of comparison.
Yeah.
Choreography in
Yeah,
there.
it's got to be some sort of nod where like
Maybe
someone
he just
thought they were
didn't
being
know
clever.
that people weren't that fond of Superman 3. Maybe he was like, oh man, I need to
Yeah.
repeat that.
Yeah, that
The
was
success
that
of
was
my favourite
amazing.
Superman film.
Yeah, it's underrated. People
Yeah.
just don't appreciate it. It does have, like I say, I do like bad Superman though for some of the
Yeah.
things he does.
Well, it's fun. It is fun.
Yeah,
It
like
is
when he
fun.
breaks a bridge and he does
Yeah.
something. And but the best bit is when he is sat in a bar just drinking and it's like flicking the peanuts to shatter the mirrors. I'm just like, that's not even. Yeah, that's
This
not
is
even
like
being epic.
douchebag Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ding, ding,
That's
ding.
not even being epic. That's just being a prick.
Yeah.
like,
Have you ever seen? There's a. Oh, I'm sure it's called something like Superman is a jerk or Superman's a prick or something.
Yeah.
Like
No.
that. And you can just look at. There's loads of old like covers from comics of Superman being a massive
Douche.
jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he was. Like,
There's like
yeah,
one
yeah.
where because for a while he'd adopted Jimmy Olsen,
Yes.
Yeah.
and then he's like holding up a dressing gown. He's like, "This is a great gift, Jimmy. A shame I can't use it." And then he's just using his heat vision to destroy it while Jimmy's like crying in a corner.
Yeah, because there were things like he. Yeah, this is again that sort of like post comics code era.
Yeah,
where they
yeah.
couldn't really. They were really limited, and they fell into that romance category where Lois Lane was constantly trying to trick him into marriage, and he was
Yeah.
just getting away with it.
Yeah.
But basically, by being really mean.
Yeah.
Like by the third issue, I'd be asking like, why does she want to marry this
Yeah.
prick?
Yeah.
Like she must have some sort of like really like, inferiority complex.
Yeah.
But-
Superman's a jerk.
Yeah, Superman, douche man.
Yeah.
But I do like the fight in the scrapyard between
Yeah, it is.
between Clark Kent and Superman because it is fun. It's
Yeah,
so
it is.
stupid.
I think three's the kind of bad where you can enjoy it.
It is.
Whereas 4 is just bad. It's not enjoyable.
Let's talk about 4. Superman 4: A Quest for Peace.
It is peace as in quiet because there's not going to be
Yeah,
any more
let's
films
just,
made
let's-
after this
it's
one.
also the shortest. I mean, if you look at the timings, like, you've had like a 2.5 hour film,
Yeah.
a 2 hour film, and then even 3 is about is probably about I think like just under 2 hours.
Yeah.
So they're all pretty long.
And then 4 comes in.
And then 4 comes
It's a
yeah.
1.5 hour jobby.
4 comes in at, literally like
Still
spot
feels
on.
too long.
Comes in at 90 minutes, probably with 10-minute credits at the
Yeah.
end.
Which is
Yeah.
and at the beginning.
Yeah.
yeah.
Including the
Because
title.
there is very little story in that film.
It's again he kills the villain as well, doesn't he? It's another killing. He chucks him in a power plant at the end, and then all the lights turn on everywhere.
Yeah.
Like,
They're
and
using
they're like,
the Powered up.
Yeah, and then that's
They use
it.
Nuclear Man as a power source, which, let's be honest, is never going to end well. There should have
No.
been a Superman 5 where it's like, Superman, you douche, you really just
Yeah.
ruined this.
Yeah.
Now that's like Terminator. That's
Yeah,
the next
post-apocalyptic.
one.
Yeah. But so the story of Superman 4, because I think this needs explaining.
It's so weak.
It is so well. Even
They're like clearly they're like, well, there's a lot of nuclear weapons about.
Yeah.
Well, look, it's
Let's do a
1980.
story-
It was
let's do a
filmed.
story
It
about
was filmed in
Superman
86.
and that.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
filmed in 86, released in 87. So you are height of the Cold War.
Yeah.
You're the tail end of the Cold War, but height of the nuclear threat.
But
Yeah.
isn't there nukes in? Is there nukes in 3 as well? Because there's nukes in 1 and 2. Because like Lex uses
No, there's
nukes.
no mention of nuclear weapons in 3.
Three.
Yeah,
So-
it's all
'cause-
about computers, how evil computers are.
They do have bombs,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they talk about them, but
Yeah.
it's not like this one's properly about
Full on
nuclear.
nuclear,
Like,
yeah.
because he's basically he needs to get rid of nuclear weapons.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about that element of it, because this is when I watched this. This is where I had the biggest problem. Right, I was happy to let go Nuclear Man,
Yeah.
and who looks a little bit like he looks like an 80s early
He's
90s wrestler.
horrible.
Like, this guy,
He's horrible.
But the
look
fact,
at,
the fact that this guy didn't turn up on WCW in 1991
Yeah.
is amazing.
Big
Like,
time.
should
He's
have
been
done.
like his hair's been blow dried with
Yeah.
an inch of its life. That's never it can't get wet. It's so blow dried it cannot get wet
The
again.
wind is blowing through. Like literally, he could fly, and his hair would just not move.
Literally, his weakness is the dark.
Yeah, this is like we'll get on to that in a minute because that's the other thing that I love. But like, there's a moment where there's the president. The film starts and there is talk that there's been like this like a massive convention of all these countries talking about how to deal with the nuclear race. Like, can we stop it? Should we stop it? What do we do? Right? And then you see both the US president and the Russian president both saying, well, these talks all fell apart, so we've now got to be the strongest nuclear power. Right?
Yeah.
We've got to have the biggest and the best nuclear weapons.
Whilst it's also saying though that like America are going to lose, isn't it?
Oh, basically,
Like
like,
America are going to lose the war. That
Right.
they keep saying we've come second.
No, he said that
in the race.
we've got to be second to none. That's what they've got. They
Oh,
both
is that what
say.
they're saying?
Both the president and the Russian leader both say
Yeah,
we've got
yeah.
to be second to none. So they're both trying to get to the top.
Yeah.
And this little it goes into this classroom, which I thought then was going to like because the teacher sort of like I thought was going to be a character or something.
No, yeah.
And they're like, oh, the president's made this announcement that we're basically
It's weird.
fucked. What should we do about it? Should we write to our congressman? Should we write to the president? And this little boy says, no, let's write to Superman.
It's like it's this weird kid as well who's sat on his own looking really sad.
Yeah.
And then they're like, what have you got to say, Jimmy? And then everyone's like, oh, Jimmy, you're a loser.
Yeah.
And they're like, be quiet. What have you got to say? And he's like, well, why can't we ask Superman? But actually, no, because he's got a stupid voice. He's like, why can't we ask Superman?
Yeah.
And you're like, why is he the
Who's this
deepest voice?
30-year-old, 10-year-old? I don't get it.
I don't know why Superman doesn't do anything about
Yeah.
this.
Takes on day.
Yeah.
Superman 4.
So he does, yeah. He did right, but
Time
he
for
writes,
some nuclear rain.
yeah. He was one of the Wolverines. That's what
Yeah.
from
That's
Red
it,
Dawn.
yeah.
He survived. He's like, nah, screw this. So he does. He writes to Superman, and Superman. This is where there are parts in this, like you said, where Christopher Reeve clearly wrote, or at least contributed to the story.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Superman receives this letter, and then like there are scenes of him, like proper contemplating. How should
Yeah, like,
he get
how
involved?
can I deal
Yeah.
with this?
So this film is actually asking the question: how does and should Superman get involved with international?
Yeah.
And that sort of thing's been dealt with in the comics. I mean,
Yeah.
there are books that have
Yeah,
done
yeah.
that and done it really, really well. This isn't one of those stories, but you can see that I think that's what
It
Christopher
seems to be
Reeve is
for a
trying to get
bit,
to.
and
Yeah.
then it's basically this whole Nuclear Man story.
Yeah, well, that's
what ruins
it's
everything.
clearly that's what's
Right.
happened. They've gone, look, Chris, we're giving you your acting scenes
Yeah.
to show how good you are. Then you're gonna fight this blonde guy.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, we'll do that.
Yeah.
But he does. He comes and he says no. He says I can't
Yeah.
get involved. This isn't for me to get involved with. So the press turn on him and like, there, Superman told this kid to screw up.
Because tabloid journalism is the thing in it. Like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the
Tabloid
thing now.
journalism is the new thing.
They're
yeah.
like, yeah, this is the thing. So it's like Superman says, "Drop dead to kid."
Yeah, which is clearly enough to upset Superman because, like, 10 minutes later, he's then addressing the UN.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm thinking, this is going to be it. This is another one of those scenes where he's going to stand up and say, no, unless I'm asked to, I cannot be involved in international issues. That's what I thought this was going to. I hadn't seen it that long. I thought he was going to say, I do not represent any country and I cannot take this action unless you ask me to.
Yeah.
Nope, goes completely the other way. He's sort of like, he basically says, I don't represent a country, so I'm going to do the things that our governments... These are people from those governments in that building that our governments have not had the guts to do. I am going to take away all the nuclear weapons. Everyone stands up, cheers him, and applauds. And I'm thinking, if you've all got this opinion,
why are you just doing it?
Why isn't why are you just
woo? Yeah, Superman.
I'd love someone to just lean over and go, why don't we just do it then?
Doesn't he go before?
That's so weird.
Before he goes to the Fortress of Solitude and has this whole moment about what should I do, and they're like, if you are the only leader, then everyone will turn on you or something like that. And then because he repeats like everyone betray.
Oh,
so
he speaks to the crypto. This is the other thing as well. There's been this thing in all the previous films. All he's got is his crystal technology, which gives him access to pretty much a hologram of his dad, who then becomes his mum because they could no longer afford Marlon Brando. Who now becomes a
list
council
of old white males, like Superman's
becomes,
granddad team.
Yeah, basically, or sort of like, you know, it's like he's contacted Oa and the Guardians of the Universe are there going, yes, don't do this, do that. All these old men. Betray.
What I didn't realise until 2 was that they're like literally just pre-recorded messages that like have no, like you're supposed to interact with them, but they just continue going and assume because Lex tries to talk to it in 2 and he's like, I didn't even ask that question. And it's like his mum's just like jabbering on about some nonsense.
Press play, rewind, fast forward.
It's like full on, just like they've just done it and just hope that you ask the questions at the right time in the middle.
What you didn't realise is that crystal actually comes with a script. So whenever Superman's talking, just that shot, he's reading. Like, it says, "Wait for Dad to stop talking. Ask this question."
That is another bit in 4. He's got this crystal that sort of
goes nowhere.
That is definitely kryptonite. Yeah, because it's green.
It glows green.
It glows green. It's a Kryptonian crystal. And they're like, once you use this, it's the last thing you'll use, and you'll no longer have. You will only be of Earth. You'll have no ties to Krypton. And then he gets in a fight with Nuclear Man, which gives him a cold. But then when he goes back to the crystal, he's like got grey hair, and then he uses it, and then he's Superman again. And that is literally that. There's no reference to it again after that.
I feel like kryptonite in these films is very questionable because like
in
the first one, it's like the little. The little bit like that he has, that he finds, he obviously picks that up, lobs that becomes a Fortress of Solitude. But then Lex gets some, and then he literally he opens a chest with it in, and then suddenly like Superman's like on his knees, and like
he's got
buckling.
He gets it on the basically. Right, there is no consistencies because green glowing rocks can mean anything.
They do anything, mean anything.
But
then I suppose
this one's crystal technology.
In return.
This one's kryptonite.
Yeah.
How do you know the difference? This one kills me. So there's no other way than like you feeling ill. To determine.
That's a really terrible sensory response. It's just like.
So what's in this box? Well, I call it Schrodinger's death. Because the moment I open it, it can either be a hidden loving message from my parents, or it could be death.
There's only one way to find out.
It's both. And that's when Noel Edmonds leans in and says, "Do you want to call the banker?"
They do, and in returns it makes land, doesn't it?
Yeah, which again, it goes back to Superman 1. Where it's like,
and then but he wraps it in green, doesn't he? Because he's like, makes like a green tube.
Oh yeah,
wraps it in green from Blackadder. But in 4, that's the thing. Like, there's so many inconsistencies within that one film because he literally flies around the world and takes all the nuclear weapons and puts them in a huge net in space and then flings them into the sun, which of itself, I think, that's a really quite, well done. You've done something there. However, we know that Russia probably wouldn't have been pleased with that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there were other countries like, North Korea and
Yeah.
they probably didn't have nuclear power.
No,
at the
they
time.
were all cheering. They were all cheering.
They're all exactly.
Everyone's happy with it.
No, there is no. The thing is, like, beyond that, there are no political ramifications
Yeah.
for what he's done.
Yeah.
And like,
Other than this little kid's like, I told you.
what's going to stop anyone from making more?
That's it.
That's what I said.
So,
He doesn't prevent the problem. He just
yeah. So Superman, have you stopped? Have you destroyed all the nuclear power,
Absolutely.
the nuclear bomb
Yes.
making facilities? What? Well, they could make more.
Yeah.
Well, why would they do that?
Yeah. No,
Because you've stolen theirs.
Did you see me throw them into the sun?
Yeah, didn't you see
They
what they can
they're
do?
not going to do that again,
Yeah.
surely.
But there happens to be one more that they were going to fire to get rid of,
Yeah.
and it just so happens that Lex has managed to acquire some of Superman's DNA.
From a piece of hair. This is really annoying. A piece of hair that's like, this hair is so strong and indestructible, and they've got it in a museum, and it's holding up this £1,000 weight.
Yeah,
And then he just goes
From a
in
Tom
there
and
with a pair
Jerry
of
cartoon.
scissors,
yeah,
cuts the top and bottom, and he's like, I'll have that.
What?
yeah.
That's it. He's just like,
These are kryptonite scissors.
yeah, no worries.
So weird.
And he's flipping, what is it, his nephew?
His nephew, played
The
by
guy
Tom.
oh,
Played by Tom
man.
Cryer from 2.5 Men.
And I hate him in 2.5 Men. And
Yeah.
I'm like, after this, how did he ever get a job?
Well, he was also the reason I think he got this is because he was in Pretty in Pink.
Was he?
Yeah, so he was an actor. He was a known actor at the time.
Not
but
a good one.
No, he's not good in this at
Oh,
all.
whoa, man.
He's basically he's like a precursor to Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
But again, like
Really?
not in a good way.
Yeah.
That's so bizarre.
He's like a 20-year-old Bart Simpson that
Yeah.
hasn't grown up
Yeah.
at all.
Totally. Yeah, but then I say so. They make Nuclear Man with some sort of technology, protoplasm and nuclear weapons.
It's like and he is a combination of
Nuclear power.
Yeah, nuclear power, Superman, and Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
So he's got Lex Luthor's voice.
Which is, do you know what? I like that though. The
But it's just like, that's it.
They've done like Gene Hackman doing ADR,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
and so he says things. So he says things like "kill Superman," but it's in like a really weird, like aggressive Gene Hackman voice, which is really cool.
So bizarre.
Um,
And he's got long nails as well.
but they shoot out as well. Not only like they go like wolf, like Sabretooth style,
Yeah.
like they get longer.
I mean, they must have been for toys. You got to think.
I don't think so.
To shoot,
I
I
think
don't
it
know.
was just
crap.
someone that was a good idea. Because Nuclear Man is both. You said we've said about inconsistencies.
Yeah.
Right. He has the most inconsistent weakness I've ever seen in any film.
It's
So he's powered by the sun, much
Yeah.
like Superman is.
Yeah.
Right. But Superman can go out at night
Yeah.
because he holds radiation
Yeah.
in his cells. Nuclear Man literally walks from one window to the next, and between those two windows is in shade, shuts down,
yeah.
like totally shuts down.
Like he even becomes like slightly darker as
Yeah.
well. You're like, oh,
But-
like he's in, like he is shade.
yeah, but not more than that though, because in the first one he sort of goes into like crouched pose,
Yeah.
but after that he starts to pull his cape around him. It's like
I
I'm
forgot.
hibernating.
Oh,
no.
no. Just shuts himself off
yeah.
from the world.
So, yeah,
Like,
like
literally-
an emo superhero.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so dark. But that, like, to me, like, so this is even how they beat him later on. To be fair,
They shove him in a lift,
they shove him in
Yeah.
a lift because then it'll turn the lights off.
Yeah.
There's no sun; it'll switch off.
and it works.
Really?
Yeah, that's
it.
his weakness. But there's a
Chucks him
point
on
in
the
this
moon.
film. There's a point in this film where he walks into the Daily Planet because he has a thing for one of the women in the planet. One of
Naturally,
the, yeah.
which does never really
Right?
explain
No,
it.
but when he's so there are moments when he's in Lex Luthor's company, they keep him under control. Literally, by one point, by closing the blinds,
Yeah,
and he's hibernating. But then later on, he walks into the middle of a building, like flying up through the floors,
yeah,
right? And that doesn't affect him at all.
Hey.
No.
he's fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
Have they just got no grasp of where sunlight is at any
No.
point in the film?
No.
Then?
It's never addressed.
it's like it's not in that lift.
Right.
That's the only place there's no sunlight is
Yeah.
in that lift.
Yeah.
Right.
That and Lex
That
Luthor's
and Lex-
flat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when he shuts the curtains.
But it's just mad. So Nuclear Man is like completely inconsistent.
Yeah,
Um,
the love story as well. This weird they've got this
triangle.
new-
Well, it's not even a love
this-
triangle, is it? 'Cause,
No,
like,
they've got this new like editor in,
yeah.
and she really fancies Clark Kent.
but she's like 100% 80s.
Yeah, like
Really?
big time.
Like,
Got
she's
big
just
blowback hair. Or
Like she was
Yeah.
born in 80 and grew an entire life until
much like
89.
Nuclear Man. Nuclear Man is like part like DNA of like Superman, Lex Luthor, and then nuclear energy makes Nuclear Man. She's like the DNA of.
It's like David Bowie mixed with 1985.
Yeah, someone's thrown like a Cosmopolitan magazine in from like 1984 in with David Bowie, and this is what you've got.
Right.
Yeah,
Like she is so 80s, it's
the
unbelievable.
archetype of 80s.
yeah.
Yeah, she's got like 4 shoulder pads.
Oh,
you know?
right, nice.
Yeah, but she really
It's like a
fancies
space
Clark
marine.
Kent.
Yeah, which is never explained.
No, and then she keeps trying to go on dates with Clark Kent, and he keeps going, and then Lois is like, like whatever, I'm not bothered because I fancy Superman. And then they go on a double date, naturally.
Between like, so it falls into sitcom territory where Superman's like,
So go to
I've
the
got to
toilet.
go,
Oh,
Yeah.
and then all of a
classic.
sudden Clark Kent walks in. He's like,
Yeah.
and he's like, I've been powered away by these. By
And then
Superman.
by the end of the film, none of them, nothing is
Nobody
resolved.
gets it.
And I can't help but think that, like, why would you go out with Lois when, like, this one, she was
Yeah.
the dorky Clark Kent.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like you, that's better, surely.
yeah.
Rather than she only likes you when you're Superman.
I just think he likes the attention. I mean,
Yeah,
I think
he's good because he is two-timing him.
Yeah.
he is totally. I
And
mean,
there's no moral implication to it whatsoever.
I think there's a thing because he at one point in the film, in this, like you say, they bring up the kiss for this film, don't they?
Yeah.
Because at one point he reveals to Lois that he is Superman
Yeah.
by jumping off the building, and then he takes her for a fly and all sorts of stuff, and then he kisses her so she forgets.
Yeah.
Right?
Quick repeat of what's happened
Yeah.
before.
Completely.
Yeah.
Like they were clearly like, well, this film is
We
not
needed
long
it-
enough.
we
We
needed
need a
5
section.
minutes.
We need 5 minutes to fill out the running time.
And there's one hilarious bit where he's like, he lets her go, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Now
And
you
she-
try," and
and
he's
she-
like, "See you later." And she's like, "Oh God!"
she does fly.
She just flies. She's like, "Woo!"
for about 100 feet. Like Lois Lane's flying, and I'm like, is this one of those weird powers that we don't know
Yeah.
about?
And then he grabs her. He's like,
Yeah.
I was only joking."
I wasn't really gonna let you plummet to your death. But like, I would think this is all going to build up to a reveal at the end where he does. He reveals that Clark Kent and Superman's the same one, and he's like, "You both want me now, don't you?"
Yeah.
Some 80s three-way. That's what I was sort of thought this was going to go to. As the bedroom door closes as the credits
Yeah.
roll,
And he winks like as he pulls his glasses
Yeah,
down,
like-
like.
and he's like, "I'm still that naughty Superman."
Yeah. Yeah, all this time he's still evil Superman. Flicks a nut at the camera. And
Yeah. His beard comes out.
Just all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the whole fight scene, and we've said about the fight scene being quite long in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Comparatively, the fight with Nuclear Man at the end of this is
Yeah.
about the same. I was like, in an 80-minute film, it starts at 50 minutes, so you get half an hour of this fight, and it's not good.
It's just them throwing things, and it's not even like
It's
the
not
thing is,
even
it's not
that.
even a fight. It's like Nuclear Man just flies off to do something. Like, oh, I'm gonna set off this volcano. Oh, I'm gonna throw the Statue of Liberty. Or like, it just keeps doing things with landmarks.
Yeah, basically, it's not a fight, is it? He literally falls off and he's like, "I'm going to be naughty today.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and blow up some landmarks. Stop me!"
Yeah, and he's like, oh, I've got to stop him.
Yeah.
It's just, and yeah, it doesn't really ever end.
They do
Does
like
he ever
that.
sell his farm?
No, that's never addressed
That's
again.
another big thing. He's selling his farm,
Yeah.
but he wants to sell it to a farmer, but it's never.
It's like, yeah,
There's
it's
What's
a
that
literally.
all
whole
in
bit
there?
on it at the
I
start.
don't know.
Like,
It's
he's
literally
talking
yeah.
to an estate agent.
Yeah.
That where it's like, oh,
There's literally
Clark.
like a 10-minute scene that never gets raised or addressed again, which is clearly filler. It's all filler.
It is.
This film,
They
this
just-
was
I
this.
feel like they just had to make it.
Well,
Like they were just.
this film was made. This film was made for 2 reasons. It was made because the Southlands, father and son, had
Yeah.
a falling out.
Right. Okay.
So, and it wasn't made, although it was distributed I think by Warner Brothers because obviously
Yeah.
they still own it. It was they shifted the rights to Canon Film.
Right. Okay.
And Canon Films, I don't know if you know Canon, are renowned for making utter garbage. Like they were
Yeah.
banging out all kinds of things. So they made things like He-Man, Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
They made Death Wish films. They made Cannonball Run. I think some films like that. They made some
Yeah.
like, really like they were really about banging it out. And these were, I can't remember the name of the two guys. Golden and Globus were the two guys, and these were I think they're either Egyptian or Eastern European.
Yeah.
So they came to Hollywood in the same sort of Tommy Wiseau fashion.
Right.
Like, we want to be in the film industry. And we've got this money.
Yeah.
So instead of making a film, they became producers and created Canon Film. So when they got the rights to the Superman franchise, they were over the moon.
Yeah.
Like, they wanted to make. They were like, this could be it. This is going to be our staple. We're going to make one of these a year, and we're going to do this. And by that time, Christopher Reeve was like, no, I want to go and do other things. He was contractually obliged to do this film. So he said, right, well, I'll do this film, and then we'll talk about it after. Margot Kidder came back because she wasn't getting work anywhere else.
Yeah.
So they risked it by having her back on set, and you can tell, like, you see her in this film, like, she has clearly gone through some shit.
Really?
Like, she's aged at this point.
Yeah.
And the Southland, so it was the son that made it, but he literally made it to spite his dad.
Yeah.
So he was like, I'm going to make this film. Screw you, Dad. And Canon just wanted it because they were like, great, we can make a super film. We're going to make a fortune off this, but we're only going to spend like £3. We're not going to spend any money on it.
Yeah.
So we're going to pull in everyone that's got a contractual obligation to do this film, and we're going to pay them less than they've been paid before. And that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah.
And I think you can see it in people that are just like, ugh, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
There are even points where even Christopher Reeve's like, oh, what am I doing?
I feel like the only reason he was so, like, he's probably on board with it is because he wrote the story.
He was given
pulled him in a bit
that was
more.
what pulled him in. I think he was given the opportunity to do that. If it hadn't been, it probably wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. So the first, going from that huge monumentous beginning to such like a missed fart that is Superman 4 is incredible.
It's his downfall, isn't it?
It's 10 years, and it's.
I always think it's funny because sort of after Batman and Robin. It's the fourth one again.
Yeah. Well,
if that was similar, like the drop, like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just that sort of slippery slope.
Thank God Christopher Nolan didn't make a fourth one.
I know, But
he reintroduced.
Because third one dropped as well.
That's the thing. Yeah. By that time, Christopher Nolan had gone really. This whole film is about Batman in his dreams.
Yeah.
And he's going to fight unicorns.
Yeah. He's going to fight Nuclear Man.
Yeah, we're going to bring back. We're going to bring back. No. We're going to bring back Nuclear Man. We're going to make him Iranian. No.
It's just like too real. Too real.
Can't deal with this.
That's it. Thank God Zack Snyder got his hands on it.
Well, let's talk about those. Let's talk about Man. Let's jump forward movie wise. Let's talk about Man of Steel. Just like what are your thoughts on that? On the Henry Cavill Superman?
I quite enjoyed Man of Steel when I saw it.
Yeah.
I think Jonathan Kent stuff is amazing. I think that's all really good. Him growing up.
Yeah.
The flashbacks and some other stuff.
They're really good bits. But the Superman bits are just a bit. They're just boring. It's just punches being thrown for the whole film, and you don't really like. When I think about what I remember, it's probably about 20 minutes of a 2-hour film.
Yeah.
I hate Lois Lane in it. I think she's terrible.
She was so miscast.
That was like ultimate.
There's no.
That was like that's on par with like Topher Grace for Venom. For me.
Yeah.
How did you get that so wrong?
No, I agree.
And
she's supposed to be like a spunky, hard-willed reporter.
Like she's punchy. And
Amy Adams just can't seem to pull it off.
No, she's just like the most. I don't know. It's like she's got
bland.
Some sort of She seems like she's been
actually
through some stuff or something. like she's so downtrodden
she's
and just like
scared of things.
She is like she's got no energy going on at all.
But she's one of those actresses that like she can be good. If you've seen
she's a good actress.
If you've seen Arrival and stuff like that, she's amazing.
Right. But I think
but
again,
like
Arrival, it's like she needed to sort of be that kind of person for that role, and it's just like it works for Arrival.
Like imagine if she played flipping Black Widow. You're not going to be convinced, no matter what.
It's just like
this doesn't work. So I thought she was a really miscast. I thought she was the biggest mistake of that film. Because even things like little things like Lawrence Fishburne as Harry Watt
that's
really good.
Like
I think he's a cracking actor. I like him, and I think he's good in that role.
Some good lines
and it's
as well.
Tough with someone like Perry Mason because I think now
He's Perry White.
Yeah.
Perry White.
Yeah.
They've been J. Jonah Jameson has sort of overtaken him as the known
Yeah.
sort of publisher,
Yeah.
and he's another like angry white man,
Yeah.
and it's the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
so if they'd have done the same thing, you'd just
Yeah.
be like,
Well,
So
it's
that
what,
was
and the
good.
fact that, like, because you've had, like, J.K. Simmons
Yeah.
nail it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that J. Jonah Jameson thing.
Yeah.
yeah,
You had to go somewhere different, I
Yeah.
think, with it.
But no, I think they did well on that. Yeah, I mean, I quite like Man of Steel. Like,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, and I think like Henry Cavill's like, I think that was good casting and stuff as well. And like I think you're right in the fact that like all the flashbacks and stuff, like the bits that humanise him and stuff,
Yeah.
were really well
Yeah.
done. Like. And like even when, but I think he looks good in the suit as well. Like when you see him, it's like you're not like because he's he's got the frame for it. And
I think he's
and, like,
perfectly cast. I think Henry
Yeah.
Cavill is a fantastic choice to be the modern Superman.
yeah.
I just don't think he's had the chance yet to
Yeah.
be
He's- well, that's-
Superman.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's that
That- you
the
can
story
always,
hasn't done it right
no.
for him. Like,
You can always forgive a first film. For,
Yeah,
for,
but
for,
there are,
a, for a superhero not being to the character you know,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
then it's like when you watch like the Dark Knight films, Batman Begins. It's okay that he makes all those mistakes because he's starting out.
Yeah.
But when he's making those mistakes later on as Batman, you're
Yeah.
a bit like,
You're making the same mistakes you made before.
Yeah.
Batman doesn't make these mistakes.
Yeah.
What are you doing now? You haven't got the excuse anymore. And I think so. It's like you say, there's not been a Superman. There's not been a Man of Steel 2.
No.
There's not been. We've not seen him as Clark Kent at
Yeah.
all.
No.
We've not seen him as
Well,
Superman.
This is what I'm saying.
Really.
That his Clark Kent. So even in like BVS, so in Batman v Superman,
Yeah, yeah.
and even you don't see anything in Justice League because he doesn't get a chance to be Clark Kent.
yeah,
But this is the fact it's gone. The fact that the point is that when he wears the glasses, he looks
Yeah.
all drooping. He like you say in I will go back to All Star Superman because I think it's the best Superman.
It's
The way that
It's
Frank
really
Quitely drew it was he wears clothes that are too big for him.
Yeah.
He hunches over to hide his bulk, to
And he
hide
stumbles
his.
about
He
and-
stumbles and he trips and he does the
Yeah.
Christopher Reeve pratfalls. And that's why you can't believe that this person is Superman.
yeah.
Henry Cavill just like
Doesn't
Superman.
even
He
do it,
looks
yeah.
like Superman in glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they haven't changed his hair. He gets
Yeah.
on a flannel shirt, but he still looks ripped.
yeah. It looks massive.
Yeah. And as
He
well, he
was
looks-
like, Clark,
Yeah.
where are you from? I'm fine, thank
Yeah.
you.
He looks fairly stylish as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which he's not
Yeah.
supposed to, is he? He's
No.
like, he's not supposed to look necessarily
Right.
unstylish, but he's
No.
supposed to look forgettable.
Yeah.
And that's the point.
Because there's the scene in
He
the
never
diner,
stutters
isn't
at
there?
all.
Like
Yeah.
when there's like the guy being a jerk or whatever, and he like
Yeah.
chucks his stuff over him or whatever, and it's
But
just
that,
like
I think that's a bit more. He's not Superman yet.
no, like
Yeah,
he's
but
still,
when you look at him in Batman vs Superman, you know when he meets Bruce Wayne,
yeah,
and he's still. He doesn't look any smaller than Bruce Wayne.
yeah,
Well, that's it. Because he's like, I'm Clark Kent. And if Batman would be going,
Do you mean Superman?
do you mean Superman?
Yeah.
You're clearly
Yeah.
Superman.
Yeah, like, are you having a laugh?
He doesn't change his posture,
No.
his positioning, or even any like his facial structure, anything to be Clark Kent.
Yeah. Well,
he's
it's not-
just like, I'm Superman
yeah.
in a grey suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like even in his civilian times, he's just like he still looks massive, and like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
wouldn't mess with him on a
That's
bad
it,
day
yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
Like you know,
Yeah.
like so I don't know why
That's
anyone
the
would
thing. Like I
provoke
say,
it.
of
It's-
the only ones I think where they've in the DCU so far, the only one I think where they've really sort of grasped this idea of being a different person in you with a persona is Wonder Woman, and she's been given like and it's only minor sections.
Yeah.
But there's bits like even in Justice League where they show her as being she works in a museum and
Yeah.
she's sort of like
Yeah.
she's a lot more classical and
Yeah.
she's sort of like not I won't say dainty but she's like
Yeah.
more sophisticated. Like she's
Yeah.
she's
Yeah,
that
yeah.
she
Yeah,
is
yeah.
Diana Prince sort of thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And it shows that. That's because I think I'm not saying Gal Gadot's a great actress, but
Yeah.
she gets that
Yeah.
dynamic.
Yeah.
I just don't think they've given Henry Cavill that.
Yeah.
They're not giving
That
him the
position.
chance.
No, they
No.
haven't.
And that's why I'm like, right, get rid like whatever's gone before is gone before. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But give me Henry Cavill in a Man of Steel 2 or a Superman,
Yeah.
whatever the fuck you want to call it, directed by somebody who is going to give me a Superman film.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what I'm thinking. Like apparently not Vince Vaughn. What's his name?
Matthew Vaughn.
Matthew Vaughn
Yeah,
Yeah.
was interested in doing one. I'm like,
Yeah.
Kick-Ass is amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like don't go to that extreme.
Yeah.
But you've got that. You did First Class, and you know, and did he do? I think did he do?
Kick-Ass as well.
In Kick-Ass, he's got that. He understands it. He's got that tone where it's like, we can do our serious bits and stuff, or I can go extreme. But I've also got that the humour. I get that it's got to be funny, without being Thor 3.
I like Thor 3.
That's a different podcast. But that's what I'm saying. That's what I want. And I think Superman. There were glimpses of it in.
You need a balanced state.
Yeah, and I think there were glimpses of it in Justice League, where there were moments in Justice League, regardless of the CGI or anything like that, where I did think, Henry Cavill could be amazing as Superman.
Yeah.
I just want to see it now. This is giving me a taste for it, and I think it really could happen.
I think a lot of Justice League is stuff. I think it's just stuff that's ruined. Still little bits that you're like, oh, quite like this, but the rest of the film is so garbage. It keeps
coming up on my Amazon feed. It's like everything else you've bought suggests you want to buy this, and I'm like, no, I don't.
There's nothing I've bought that suggests that.
How dare you suggest
trash bags?
Yeah,
recently bought a new garbage.
So there's one that's really the Superman films, right? But there's one Superman film we haven't talked about, and I'm not talking about Superman Returns because I don't really want to give that time of day. Again, I think Brandon Routh, I really like him on Legends of Tomorrow, and I think he was actually not a bad Superman and Clark Kent. I think again he got that Christopher Reeve thing of the characters have got to be different. And I think he's actually not a bad actor. Again though, it's such a crappy nostalgia trip.
That's the truth. I quite liked it, to be honest.
It's too long. The biggest problem with it is because I have watched it not long ago, so in the last couple of years. It's too long. Is its problem.
I think, and I think it's even better now that Kevin Spacey is a real life villain.
It does switch you on.
There should be a scene where he just leans into look at someone else and it's like, you know what's happening tonight.
What? No, Superman's got to beat him.
But I think there are elements in that film that are really good. But then there's more that's not.
It's such a strange film. I've never seen something that's like literally just been like sort of like a weird, like however many decades later sort of masturbatory outing of like another film in so much like it really is just like if you didn't know it was made so many times so many years later, it's just like it really just follow on like everything from the look to the lines to
it's supposed to be a sequel to Superman 2. It ignores 3 and 4 as most people do, but even then you're like, there's bits in this that just don't.
Well, it's
too beholden
in a time where there's like a reboot every 2 seconds. It's weird that they didn't. They were justified to do a reboot at the point they made that, and they didn't.
They just did like a strange. It's just a sequel.
Weird.
Well,
it's very odd. Like it's one of a kind in a way that just like.
Well,
it's like an Elseworlds.
This is what. There is only one other film that I can think of that would give that comparison. And that is the Gus Van Sant remake of Psycho, which was literally shot for shot, which is almost like someone going, I wonder what would happen if you made it with this cast. Oh, it's shit. Oh, right.
So they were like,
now we know.
They were watching it. Do you know what I liked about Psycho? Everything. Can we just do it the same? Okay, I'll pay money to do that.
Do you know what I really? Do you know what?
Can we get the same cast and then they're dead? Okay, I'll get Vince Vaughn to play this small guy.
Do you know what I really found? Do you know what I really didn't like about Psycho in 1960? What? I didn't think Norman Bates was threatening enough. I thought, what? No, that's not the point. I'm going to get a 6'4" Vince Vaughn to play Norman Bates.
The trouble was when you saw him as the mother, you believed that it was a woman. That's the problem. I want someone that still looks like a man. So the mystery's gone. The whole thing that makes it good. I want that.
I want him to look like RuPaul.
So strange.
There is one other film, and there is someone else who didn't get the opportunity to play Superman. And that is, of course, Nick Cage.
In
the Tim Burton.
What is it? Superman.
Lives.
Superman Lives.
Yeah.
Superman Lives.
I'm really glad that I never got to see that film.
Have you ever seen? There's a documentary, the
Oh,
death,
yeah, I've not
the death
seen
of
No, I
Superman
want to
Lives.
see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously
I do
worth
want
watching.
to-
It is
Yeah.
amazing. It's an amazing. If any Superman fan should watch that because it's.
Yeah,
But also anyone who's fascinated how Hollywood works,
Yeah.
yeah,
because I learned things from watching that. Like, oh, that's how it like
yeah.
things happen, and it would have been, it was Tim Burton going like when you watch the Tim Burton Batman films. It's very, very clear he's read 4 Batman comics and going,
Yeah.
I like the villains.
He's actually read like The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah,
That
this
all
is the
he's
same.
read, I
This
think.
is the same with this, where someone's shown him some Batman, some Superman pin-ups, and he's
Yeah.
going, "Yeah, he's got a mullet. I like it."
Yeah,
That's about it.
Yeah.
yeah.
But have you seen the image, like the footage of Nick Cage in the outfit?
seen some.
I've seen
pictures,
pictures. Yeah,
The footage is even better.
with his long hair.
Yeah, because he's got his like. I'm sure it's a wig because
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Nick Cage
No.
has had hair
I
since
d-
he was like 3.
I,
then
think
this
Nick,
was
I,
like-
I swear Nick Cage is bald.
Yeah.
Everything he wears is a wig.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just keeps replacing them.
Yeah.
Ultimate Lex Luthor.
He is-
Yeah, he is.
It
Yeah.
is just Con Air, but with a Superman suit, as I remember. That's what
Yeah.
he looked like.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like, oh, you had sort of blonde highlights in that. We're going to go darker.
Yeah.
Well, luckily, I've got one here. There you go.
I mean, straight off the bat, like Nicolas Cage's Superman does not.
No,
It's not
it
ring
was-
true to me.
It
I
was
don't
a
know.
very, very different look.
Yeah.
I mean, because
'Cause
the
the
suit
suit's
is
all-
very plastic.
Yeah.
There was going to be a version where it was electric, and you
Yeah.
actually see. I've seen that suit in the
Really?
footage. Yeah, and it's all like you see it doing.
It's like
the
like
stuff.
neon-y.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
I've seen
really
that, yeah.
interesting. It's that thing where you go, having seen the documentary, you watch it and sort of go, I wish I'd seen this film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
Curiosity.
yeah, I wish I could see this film, but I'm glad it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Without having seen it.
Yeah.
You just want to release
I wish-
now.
Yeah.
I wish,
An
yeah.
under the table release that they're like, oh, we've still got the entire film here.
Yeah.
If you want to watch it.
Yeah.
It's one of those films where I wish I could pass to another dimension
Yeah.
Yeah.
where it was made.
Where
I
it was
could watch
made,
it and then
yeah.
come back because I don't
Yeah.
think it was good.
Was it? It was written by Kevin Smith as well, wasn't it?
No, he wrote a
Did he
draft.
Yeah, he wrote a draft.
Did he?
He wrote
Right,
one,
yeah.
he wrote an early draft.
Yeah.
And they basically the guy who I can't remember the name of the executive producer that was doing
Is it John Waters or something
possibly
like that?
yeah John Waters
yeah.
because he'd inherited they bought the Southlands had all fallen away so they'd
Yeah.
sold the rights so they were wholehearted with Warner Brothers now so they were looking for this thing and he had this thing in his head of like again John Waters hadn't read any of the Superman comics like
Yeah.
he'd seen some of the bits and pieces he'd obviously knew the Christopher Reeve films and the questions he was asking like does he have to fly you know does he have to fly
Yeah.
does he have to have a cape
God.
and
Yeah.
do you know, there's
Yeah.
and then this is the story if you ever watched the Kevin Smith thing of him being told no he's got to fight a giant spider
Yeah.
at the end of it and he's like why
Yeah.
but that's not what the villain's about
Yeah.
oh, no, but giant spiders are cool
Yeah.
and there's all this whole thing of like they really there's too many parties as you watch the documentary you learn that there's too many parties involved
Yeah.
Yeah.
and nobody wanted the same thing
Yeah.
And
And they
it
all want to
totally-
stick their oar in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so you've got like Tim Burton who's clearly like a strong-willed director in the sense of he had his own aesthetic and his
Yeah.
own tone and when they was bringing stuff they were going yeah we like it Tim but can you do this and he's
Yeah.
like no that's not
Yeah.
what I'm going to
Yeah.
do but the one thing they did seem to grasp which I find really fascinating is the idea of Superman and Clark Kent being very very different
Yeah. Yeah.
and the way they were going to go with Clark Kent was a 90s sort of like computer geek
Yeah.
All right.
I've seen this. Yeah.
and so because obviously like because Nick Cage isn't massive he's quite slender and lean and all sort of stuff he was going to have like he was going to have like a baggy shirt or like a baggy t-shirt with a shirt and baggy jeans and all sort of stuff
Yeah.
and go down that route of him looking completely different and straggled and he was going to be like an early sort of like computer I don't think he was going to be a journalist I think he was going to be like a programmer or something
Really?
else
Yeah.
or something like that and they were going to go completely but again
Alright.
I like the idea
Yeah,
of
yeah.
token something completely different
Yeah.
but yeah no I really recommend that if you get it. It's on YouTube
Is it?
Yeah.
Alright.
probably not legally but
Yeah.
it's on YouTube but it is on YouTube
Yeah.
with subtitles it's in English but there's like I think Spanish subtitles on
Oh,
it.
nice.
Really worth a watch
Yeah.
really worth a watch highly recommend it and if you want to pay for it I'm sure you can find it and buy it
Yeah. Yeah.
because I think on the Blu-ray the documentary's like an hour and a half long probably look it
Yeah.
over I think there's like 6 hours worth of like
Really?
additional
Yeah, I
footage
remember
on
there's
the
loads of
special
footage in
features.
there.
There's loads of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
like
it's mad.
8 versions of the film.
And this, I mean, what about the sort of the canned Justice League film?
Yeah, Justice League Immortal, and that was going to be
Yeah.
George Miller. So that was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Mad Max. You know,
Yeah.
And he's still sort of constantly put forward as possible director for a Man of Steel sequel.
yeah. They keep
well.
throwing it around, so
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever do it.
Who was, but that got like quite far into it, didn't it?
Yeah, they actually turned up to start filming in
Yeah.
Australia, and then it all got turned to shit.
Yeah.
But they'd all had their costumes were fitted, they'd all had
Yeah.
their costumes made. I forget who it was now who was going to play the actors, but I
I
think
know
it was like
Army
Armie
was
Hammer's
Batman.
Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I forget who else it was. But it was it was Batman.
There's the guy, you know,
in
the
fact,
guy
there
from
was
OC.
yeah,
Was the Flash.
that's right.
Yeah.
But a photo was released recently of concept art
yeah.
of all the costumes.
Yeah.
Of what the concept art looked like for all those for
You
the
think they'd have
Justice League
photos, wouldn't
Immortal.
you, somewhere?
There is somewhere,
Yeah.
but again, well, the
It's
guy
not
who made
released.
Death of Superman Lives,
Yeah.
he started digging. Like,
Yeah.
he knew someone, I think, who was on the special effects team and stuff,
Yeah.
or on the costumes, and they said, "There's all this. Like, we've literally got boxes of stuff."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just dug through it, and like, he kept going. And
Yeah.
I think like no one's done that with Justice League Immortal yet.
I think they are. I'm sure I've heard that they're doing
I'd
it.
love to see a documentary
opinion
like
on
that,
that,
because
yeah.
again, it's one of those fascinating things where like, it got to like the 11th hour
Yeah.
and then fell apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then apparently like, that was going to have like Dark Side in it, and it was going to have all kinds of different
Yeah.
things. So that would have been fascinating.
Right.
That was like 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
So even as early as that, they were going to have two different. I don't know if that falling apart though allowed Nolan to do
Right.
Batman
Well,
Begins.
no,
I
because
think.
wasn't it?
Or was it the way around?
Was it Batman versus Superman? Was going to be made after that, not Batman versus. It would have just been Batman Superman.
Yeah.
Because the one in in I Am Legend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of did a sneaky advertisement for it.
That's right.
Then that fell apart.
Yeah.
I don't think that. Really
It's one of
got
those weird
very far.
things. You get the feeling that sort of like Batman and Robin tainted everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
And
think
it
it did. Didn't it?
Tainted everything in
For
the DC
ages.
side of things for a
Yeah.
long
Yeah.
time.
Which I find weird considering Superman 4.
Yeah.
Like when you rewatch him, it's
Yeah.
like at least in Batman versus Batman and Robin, like there's stuff there's more I remember from that than sort of.
Yeah, but not good things.
No, but at least it's
Bat nipples.
at least
and-
it's
and
like-
Mr. Freeze
it's so
quotes.
bad it's funny. Whereas
Yeah.
Superman 4 is just so bad.
Yeah.
Full stop.
No, it is.
It's not
I
even.
agree.
You don't laugh.
No, I won't be going. I will
Just
probably.
cry.
Yeah. What have you done?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, like I say, where Superman basically shriveled up on the big screen in '87, really with Superman 4, he then jumped to the small screen because you
quite a lot as well.
Yeah.
He's always
Yeah.
on TV, wasn't he? Really?
yeah. Because you're sort of in the late '80s into the late like literally from I suppose from the late '80s. Like he hasn't been off television.
Not really. You had Lois and Clark. Then
Yeah.
Small.
Well, even before that, you had Superboy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It was like '89.
There was a Supergirl film, wasn't there, in the 80s?
That's true. That
Yeah.
follows Superman 3.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
horrendous.
Yeah.
I used to love that one.
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
I think it's just because it was Supergirl. I was
Yeah.
like, oh.
Yeah. It is one of those. Like, it's one of those. I remembered it from a kid,
Yeah.
and I remember watching it about 4 years ago, and
Yeah.
I remember thinking like, "This is dreadful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it makes no sense." There's a
It's like-
witch in
it's
it.
like-
There's
yeah, there
magic
is a
in
witch,
it. Yeah.
It's one of those weird things where I remember, like, when Wonder Woman came out, like, first superhero film with a woman starring,
Yeah.
and it's like, what about Supergirl?
Yeah.
Well, they did the
It's
same
like,
with
Just
Black
because it's
Panther.
not good, don't mean it's
Yeah.
Yeah, just, don't you ignore it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's there.
Just do shit doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But it was the same with
Yeah, Black
Black
Panther.
Black Panther.
Yeah.
Like, first leading black superhero,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm like, I like Blade.
Yeah, like, Blade was
And then,
massive.
and then Shaq, Shaq steps forward. I did Steel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
All right, Shaq, sit
yeah.
down.
it's like- and then, but I find that weird with the whole Marvel thing because, I mean, I know it's really because it's the big screen, but
Yeah.
Luke Cage, I thought,
Yeah.
I thought actually dealt with the whole race thing better as well.
Yeah,
Because it wasn't
I
just
agree.
like crowbarred.
Into a film.
Yeah, so it felt like really part of it.
Yeah.
Because he's in it. He is part of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like,
I think.
Spawn as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Spawn's Spawn's one of those
Just
weird
because they're
ones.
not
Yeah.
good. That's it.
Yeah,
Don't
but
ignore it.
Spawn, right? Spawn, and I even feel this about the comics. Like Spawn is one of those weird things where it's almost like apologetically, like, oh yeah, we know we've got a black like superhero, but he's burnt now, so you can't
and
tell.
And
Yeah.
he's dead as well.
Yeah.
He's not alive.
Yeah.
Um,
And because it's done by Todd McFarlane, everyone, although they are coloured black, they all look white.
very pale.
Because he can't draw ethnicity.
No.
He just draws everyone the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those 90s artists.
Yeah. No, but the TV, I say, the Superboy, which I watched a few episodes of, that was quite good.
Yeah.
The
Lois
Adventures
and
of Lois
Clark.
and Clark, which I've watched quite a bit of,
Yeah.
I'll admit, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna have to watch this. It's good.
Yeah.
I will happily say
It's
I've watched most.
enjoyable tact.
Yeah, that's
You know
exactly
as well,
what it is.
when I
I've
was
watched most
watching-
of the season 1, and I'm like, I'm enjoying it. I don't give a shit.
It's funny because I was watching
I even follow Dean Cain on Instagram now.
there's Superman 4. That story is in one of the episodes, but
Right.
where they make a clone of Superman out
Yeah.
of his hair, and it's
Yeah.
like the one I remember the most. And I
Yeah.
remember being like, "Oh, flipping it!" It was like a combination of Superman 3 and Superman 4.
But that
But it
goes to
was
show.
good. It was
But
a
that
good
goes,
episode.
and that goes to show though. Give it an hour,
Yeah.
or even 45 minutes,
That's it.
and that's all it needs.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I used to really like it because I think
Yeah.
it's cheaper,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and but again, I think like Dean Cain's a pretty good like Superman
Yeah.
Clark Kent. I think.
Well, you got to
he
think
was
they,
quite
they
good.
they get more time to play
Yeah.
the characters than
And
Anyone.
Terry Hatch is a much better
Lois
Lois
Lane.
Lane than Amy
Amy
Adams.
Adams.
Yeah,
Oh
big
yeah,
time.
by far. Yeah.
But yeah, that show it's very silly.
yeah.
Um,
Then you've got Smallville.
Sort of,
well,
after
so,
that.
yeah, because again like that, yeah. So I think it's like Lois and Clark was like 4 years,
Yeah.
from like 92 to 96, and then you get a couple of years off, and then you got Smallville,
Yeah.
which ran for like 10 years.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think
it
that's
was
like 2001,
long, yeah,
2011.
This is very long.
Yeah, so that's like 10 years.
And they're
And
still
I
like
watched a lot
peddling
of
that
that.
formula now. They've
Yeah.
like
Oh, the
what with
CW.
every
Yeah.
It's the CW, isn't it? It's that channel has just cracked it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. We've got all these scripts that we didn't use for Smallville.
Yeah.
Who can we give it to?
We've got all these
Supernatural, Arrow.
freak of the week. Yeah, just let's make 2,000 series of
Yeah.
each one
Yeah.
and then tie them in.
That costume looks interesting in Supergirl. Yeah, it was in Smallville, season
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
No, Smallville was interesting in that, like I say, it starts in like, high school and
Yeah, yeah.
really
It's
does follow
Smallville,
that
isn't it?
progression. It really was.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the. I think I dropped off probably like 4 or 5 seasons in.
I got quite far. I think I got to 8,
Yeah.
maybe 7. But
Oh,
I remember getting. I think it was when they brought Doomsday in.
Oh, I was way
I
before that.
stopped watching then.
Yeah, because I remember they brought in like a faux Justice League where they're like, "This is
Yeah.
Aquaman. He seems to be wearing an orange swimsuit.
Yeah.
This is the Flash. He wears a red tracksuit.
Yeah.
This is Cyborg. He wears a silver jumper.
Which is like
Do you have a Wonder Woman? No, we couldn't afford. We couldn't afford female actors in this
that
show.
was
Just looking at golden bikini.
Yeah, yeah.
that was Jeff Johns.
Oh, that was when he
Right.
was involved.
He
yeah,
wrote
yeah.
that episode. Yeah.
But
so-
it's clear that they've gone. The idea is there, and
Yeah.
they're having fun with it. But the costume department's gone. We can't
We
do.
can't- yeah.
We can't do
You
that.
don't do costumes.
Yeah.
You know that.
The gap. The
Yeah.
gap doesn't
We
do.
only do
Yeah.
jumpers and jackets.
That's
That's
it,
all
yeah.
we do.
Well,
Yeah.
we've just been down to Target, and I've got this red jumper. Oh, that'll do. Can you put some yellow on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
And they had Green Arrow in it, didn't they? as
They
well?
did have a Green Arrow. Yeah. So they covered the lot. And if
Yeah.
anything, the Green Arrow costume from that episode
Yeah.
is pretty much what like they use in Arrow.
Yeah, it's no
season
different.
3.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
where he's got like the arm like missing
Yeah.
and that sort of bit. It's it becomes. Yeah, so
It's
I think
pretty much the
Smallville
same.
was pretty good. Tom Welling again was quite a good
Yeah.
young Superman. I thought
Yeah.
it was quite a good. I like the fact they kept the costume as well because I hated Superboy for that reason. Whether like he goes to Metropolis to become Superman.
Yeah.
Oh, apart from these years when he wore a Superman costume
Yeah.
in Smallville and no one can put that together.
Yeah.
So yeah, and now we've got Supergirl, which started that 2 years ago, so
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah.
And that's not bad. I've watched the first season of that. That's
I
all
dropped off
right.
pretty quickly,
Yeah.
but with
I've dropped off all the CW shows.
Yeah,
To be
I
fair,
can't.
I'm too old for them. I've decided that
Yeah.
I watch them and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm just not. I'm not the demographic
Exactly.
this is going
Yeah,
for anymore. Yeah. No,
I
let
think
the young-
you sort of think with all this stuff, you just assume you are
Yeah.
because you read comics.
Yeah.
And then you have to get to grips with the fact that that's not.
Yeah.
the case.
It's quite simple. The thing is, like, I see people like my age. I think you guys are younger than I am. But they're well, it's rubbish. It's crap. And I'm like, no, it's not. Because if you go back, did you enjoy Lois and Clark? Yes, I still do.
Yeah,
quite
it's
happily.
like, yeah.
But I'm like, well, that was crap.
Yeah,
and
that's
I
it.
still love
if
it.
you didn't watch it back then, you'd hate
You're
it
just
now.
the wrong
You wouldn't.
age.
Yeah.
Like, this is clearly not for you.
Yeah.
This is for younger people.
Yeah.
You know, probably like 10, 12 years younger than me.
I think we
And
do
I'm like,
live in a sort of society of like grown-up babies that assume everything's for them.
Oh, exactly. I
get
totally
angry
agree.
with films like Power Rangers because
It doesn't represent the thing I saw in 1994.
yeah, and it's like, are you watching it now? No.
Yeah.
So what's up with you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same with like, when this is the big thing about, and get back to Superman, is I love the Christopher Reeve Superman. Like you said at the very beginning, if someone else says to me, think of Superman on screen, like Christopher Reeve is gonna be my go-to.
Yeah.
Like without a doubt, that'll be what I'll go to. But that doesn't mean he's gonna be the best Superman.
No.
It doesn't, and he definitely wasn't the first. I mean,
No.
you had like George Reeves in the 50s do like 5 seasons of black and white Superman and stuff. And there are people that probably watched that as kids that watched Christopher Reeve and were like, "Well, it's not my Superman." And the same with the cartoons.
Yeah.
If you look at the cartoons, like I watched a good portion of the Max Fleischer cartoons.
Yeah.
And I can see how the animation influenced the Batman in the animated series.
Yeah.
I'm glad it did because it looks amazing. And these cartoons, like for 1941, look
They're fantastic.
look
Like,
amazing.
It's because they're properly animated as well.
Yeah.
It's when you watch that you start to realise, especially the stuff we sort of grew up on, because now there's a lot of CG, makes it easier, but because they had lower frame rates, it's actually those were better. The old cartoons were better than the newer cartoons.
Yeah.
Oh, the gloss on it. There's such a gloss on it.
Yeah.
And again, they're on Amazon Prime right now. There's a 2.5 hour block of all that. They're about 8 minutes long each episode, each cartoon, maybe a bit longer, 12 minutes or so. But there's a 2.5 hour block of these Fleischer cartoons.
Yeah.
And they are brilliant.
Just there's like talking about Clark Kent to Superman. I always love a bit of something where he's like, "This looks like a job for Superman," and he just changes from like 1 second to 2 seconds, like completely.
Well, talk about that. Do you know where that came from? Because that was never considered before. Right?
Yeah.
So there was a thing of how, because the first time that came about doing the voice differently was for the serials, the radio serials in the 1940s. And the people who made the radio serials, they got a guy in to play Superman. So they got a guy in to play Clark Kent. Because they thought, well, there's probably more Clark Kent to begin with, and then we'll get the guy in to play Superman. And then when he auditioned, he was like, "No, I can do both. I'll do this. No, I've got it. I've got to do both." They were like, "No. We need 2 people. One to play Clark Kent and one to play Superman." But they kept the cast kept saying, well, you can't, because they're obviously more experienced, right? You can't do that. The listener will just think it's 2 different people. And so the guy, his name was Bud Collier. Actually, really is the guy who defined that idea of shifting tone
during Superman
while talking to denote that change. And that's what stuck around. So everyone is always picked up on that sort of thing. And then I think Christopher Reeve. Well, that's the thing. Like, he gave it from an auditory point of view because they then used that in the cartoons. So Max Fleischer in the Fleischer cartoons, although they show it physically through the animation and stuff, like, there's very little difference between their Clark Kent and their Superman because they animated the body type. Like, it's the same thing, just slightly different.
He spends like 2 seconds an episode anyway, doesn't he? As I remember. The Clark Kent appears to the beginning.
Like
he's like typing away, and that's about it.
And then he stands up, goes into a phone box or an office, and comes out as Superman. So they did it again, where they had that change in tone and that character. And then I think like Christopher Reeve gave it a visual element by having that body type thing, and that's what seems to have fallen away. But if you watch some of those early Superman like things, there's some really interesting, like, they could really do like crazy stuff. I mean, in the second episode of the Fleischer Brothers, he fights like flying like robots in the air. It's amazing. And then it goes on from then it just escalates from there. it's really good.
Yeah.
I really recommend those.
Yeah,
Um,
they are really good.
Yeah.
Because they are surprisingly good. As I remember.
Oh, they
I
hold
think
up.
'cause if you watch old superhero cartoons, a lot of them are like motion comics, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like the Marvel ones, especially.
Well, this is it. The thing is, when people say, when you say old cartoons, people think of, because the quality fell off the cliff when you look at like Super Friends
yeah,
in the 70s or whatever.
just
or those-
sliding characters into
Yeah, or those horrific.
Motion comic.
Yeah.
Have you seen, those horrific 60s Marvel ones, the Captain America
Yeah.
ones.
Oh,
And,
They are actually motion comics, though, aren't they? Because
Pretty
they
much.
were taken from the pages.
yeah. Although the music, the Captain America theme's quite good.
Yeah,
but
the themes are all
Yeah,
like pretty
yeah.
catchy.
Yeah.
They use the Iron Man one, don't they, in the films?
Oh
yes,
And
yeah.
I think Captain America might be in the first.
It
film.
used it in the first one.
Yeah, the Thor one you don't hear. But
No,
that's hilarious.
but then you go back even further. Like I say, these are quality animation.
yeah,
But again, this is the thing with Superman is like whenever he goes into a new media, like he pushes the boundaries. Like
Yeah.
Superman was always pushing those boundaries because those Fleischer cartoons were the most expensive cartoons made in 1941.
yeah,
Like they weren't messing around.
No.
These weren't sort of like, oh, we'll bang out a couple for cash.
yeah.
These were costing like 14 grand a piece in
Yeah.
1941.
Yeah.
It's mental, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, technically, like they almost bankrupted the Fleischer Studios.
Yeah.
These are the cartoons. The reason that the Fleischer Studios don't exist
Yeah,
because they wanted to keep the quality and kept bringing in money from elsewhere until they actually just ended up selling themselves to keep funding their
fund it,
cartoons. Because if they'd have kept on, you'd probably be hearing more about the Fleischer Studios and Disney Studios
Yeah.
at this point.
did they do Betty Boop as well?
Yeah.
yeah,
Betty Boop. And if you go on Prime, and I really recommend anyone who likes that kind of animation
yeah.
from that era. If you go into the kids era,
There's a cartoon like
it's called Classic Tunes, and it's not like
there's
Disney.
like 3 volumes, isn't there?
Yeah.
And they're really
But
long.
It's like Ellie loves them. My daughter.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at Christmas, there's a Christmas compilation,
Yeah,
and then there's like volumes 1, 2, and 3,
yeah,
and that is peppered with Fleischer
yeah.
studio cartoons.
It's just like the set of. It's like Chuck Jones,
yeah.
Fleischer.
It's
and-
the sort of like there's no Looney Tunes in there. There's no Disney cartoons.
No.
It's all those like lesser studios, but they are a joy to
Yeah.
watch because some of them they're not all like from a plot point of view or story point of view, they're not all good.
No.
Really. But the animation of that like late 30s, early 40s is astounding. It's something I want to
Yeah.
cover on this show at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
It really is amazing. And like I say, those Superman cartoons are a good example
Yeah.
of it. But did you guys ever watch the Superman cartoon or Justice League Unlimited? From
Yeah.
the 90s?
Justice League used to watch a lot. I mean, Superman. I don't remember being on much.
No.
The Superman cartoon.
I'm sure I've seen
Seen
a few.
yeah, seen a few,
Like,
but like the
it's
Justice
not one you
League.
could catch easily, was
No,
it?
because like Batman was always on.
Yeah.
And I think it was on every now and again, but Justice League was on a lot. I remember
Yeah.
used to watch that
Yeah.
as a kid, and still with that is when I think of his voice
Yeah.
when I'm reading, I still
Yeah.
go to sort of the animated
Mm.
Justice. I do that for all the Justice League, really.
Mm.
I think that's
I think you're right. You know, I think
Yeah.
about it, I'm like, yeah, that's how I saw it. 'Cause I
if I
still
was
hear.
to pick a voice in my head, but I think just because I grew up watching them,
Yeah. Yeah, Mark Hamill will forever be the voice
The
of the
Joker,
Joker.
yeah.
And,
big time.
yeah.
And like you say with the mediums as well, like the Superman games, like it's weird. We've never really had like a fantastic
No, there's not been a
Superman
good
game,
Superman game.
which is upsetting because like Superman 64 was
Yeah.
like atrocious, wasn't it?
Oh my
Yeah.
man, did you actually play it?
No, I've just witnessed.
I
bits
did.
of
I've
it,
never
like,
played it. I have seen
it is like it's one of them games where you're like, you know it's going to be bad because everyone says it is, but you're like, it might be one of them games that is really bad, but I enjoy it. But it's literally just flying through hoops. So you start off and you're like, this must be the tutorial,
Yeah,
and then Lex says something to you in text at the bottom of
Yeah.
the screen, and you're like, okay, you've got to fly through a few. And you're like, this is actually the game.
This is
This is flying
Yeah.
through hoops.
Oh, this isn't the training stage.
No, and it's
This is
weird,
the-
like,
oh, okay.
You go above the clouds, go through some hoops, and then go below the clouds, and it's like below the clouds is like underwater. It's not supposed to be, but you're like, oh, I can't see anything properly.
Yeah.
It's so weird. So bad. And then they did Superman Returns, the game, didn't they?
oh yeah,
And
Oh,
that,
did they?
that was a bit more like, this isn't crap, but I can enjoy playing it.
yeah.
Till I got to Multiple Man, and I didn't know how you're supposed to. And like, I literally just beat it. beat him like 5 times, not knowing how I did it.
Really?
You know, you just keep
Yeah.
jamming
Yeah.
buttons, and then it got too much.
I don't. You're right though, because he's a character. There's so much you could do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think like basically he's broke the sort of the sandbox element of games. Like usually it'd be a case of like, because like the Spider-Mans did it well of like you sling him through the city, like you've
Yeah.
got a web sling to like get from A to B and do your points, but as soon as you're able to fly immediately, it's just like well,
It needs to be massive.
yeah. So now the map just has to be infinite. And
I
it's
remember,
like,
to be fair, on Superman Returns, it never felt like, because they just slowed him down, but you felt like you were going, because he kept sonic booming and stuff.
uh-huh.
So you felt like you're going really fast,
Yeah.
and they like blur the screen, but
Yeah.
you're obviously not.
Yeah.
And it was quite good because the health was Metropolis's health.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
That was your
okay.
health bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it just meant everything was like a time limit.
Ah, yeah.
And everything was the same. Once you'd done a couple of missions,
Yeah.
it was like the same villains kept coming after
Yeah.
you.
Oh, no.
But they did do some cool stuff. Like you had to do like Bizarro missions where you
Oh.
had to destroy the city in a time limit and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And like Mix It Spitlick would pop up every now and again and
Yeah.
have some little mini games or something.
But I think you've hit the nail on the head though. For like the biggest problem with Superman is because he is so powerful. And I know this is a real cop out thing,
Yeah.
but because he is so powerful,
Yeah.
the moment you put him in something, you have to be really clever in
Yeah.
order to
Yeah. Well, it's
to
I
think
think it's
about
pretty.
how to do
like the
get
first-
around that element and make the
Yeah.
story
The
interesting.
first level on it, which is I never understood why they didn't just stick to it. Probably because it was Superman Returns. But the first level, you're on Warworld, and you're fighting like aliens,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you actually have health.
Oh, right.
And then after that, you go back to Earth and do Superman stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you were just like, well, why don't you just do one on
See, I
Warworld? or
th-
something?
Yeah.
yeah.
Just do one where he's vulnerable
Yeah.
slightly,
Yeah.
and then you just all of a sudden you've got a health bar,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then there's your problem.
Because that's the
solved,
thing they
isn't
do,
it?
don't they? Like you say, when it was the, when John Byrne reignited him in 1996,
Yeah.
1986, they brought down his power set
Yeah.
Yeah.
to make him less powerful. And you think, yeah, right, it makes sense, because that's how he was when he first came out. He wasn't
Yeah.
as super god
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of thing. But it shouldn't be a limitation
No,
in this day and
no.
age.
Because I mean, we're pretty much going there because there's so many games that are almost that. You get like your sort of overpowered sandbox games. You've got like Crackdown. You've got is it Infamous on PlayStation. You get like the prototype games. Like there's loads that are sort of like are basically in that category. Like
Yeah.
you are a super person in a giant city. But
Was
I
that
think
Batman?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. Like
They could do that.
It just
where-
takes the right person, I think, to make.
Yeah,
that
I think-
sort of-
Yeah, you've got to put in the restrictors. Like whatever
Yeah.
those restrictions are, just don't make it depowering because that's
Yeah. No.
fucking
I think
crap.
the trouble is with the game is that a lot of it's just fighting, isn't it?
Yeah.
That, I mean,
It would be the end of Man
Yeah.
of Steel, just pummeling
when
things.
it comes to the story, like
But it's
stories
one of
for the
the-
books
yeah, but-
and stuff, you can just work around.
Yeah.
it. There's
Yeah.
other things,
But the thing I would say is, like, if you would take the approach of, if you had consequences to those powers.
yeah,
So, for example, if you could say, well, yeah, you are ultimately powered.
yeah,
You could go and pummel all these things, but you know what? Every time you punch that hard, the shockwave of it destroys all these bloody things.
yeah,
And look, you've made all these people homeless. Right?
Yeah.
If actually part of the game was actually holding back,
yeah,
and not just going mental and mashing buttons and stuff,
yeah.
that would actually make the game more interesting because you actually, I could just destroy this fucking place. But you
Yeah.
know what? I can't do that.
Yeah.
I've
I
got to
don't know though. Would that
Like
not
if it
be like
punishes
if you were
phobia.
playing that?
Yeah.
Would you not just be like, I'd rather just smash
flatten
it?
the place.
Yeah.
Well, if
Yeah,
you want to
when
flatten the place,
you-
flatten
yeah.
the place.
Yeah.
And that's
When
when
you
you
play
become.
a game,
That's when you become the end of Superman 3 because it's flat. You come flat
Yeah.
and he's like, ha ha ha, peanuts.
Yeah. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. I don't know. You could do something.
Just, I think all you need to do is just
Yeah.
find a way to give him a health bar. It's as
You
simple
could,
as
you
that.
could do like a Telltale game of it because it's like
Yeah.
a lot of it's morally driven. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just like it'd just be making choices.
Yeah.
That's a really good
Flipping,
idea, actually. Like, because it's all about
just one of
being-
the avenues that they push Batman down.
Yeah.
Swap it for Superman
yeah.
because
yeah.
it is like any like obviously I love Batman, but anything available has Batman in it. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Oh,
Every-
yeah.
There's a Batman for every type of game. There's a Batman for every type of film, TV,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And they just don't push anything else. And it's only recently, really, I suppose.
I think the thing is, that I think someone will crack it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Because it would be really interesting to see how it. And I think you're right. I love that idea of a moral element because that's his core.
That is,
You know, that would actually be really interesting. Like you've got to make moral choices to, to move on. And
to progress and stuff. And then obviously, like you say, with like all the stuff you do that's sort of out of your control to a degree, is like has consequences.
Yeah.
Like if you do use your powers in the wrong way, like people get hurt, or like you've had to choose these people over these people. Yeah, I mean, if they did it from a story perspective, like it could work, but I think maybe it's just that general type of gamer that just plays GTA to like run prostitutes over is like that's what's restricting.
To be fair, could work in that sense as well. We just like go out and just wipe out entire cities. Although they did Injustice.
Yeah,
you know, and that's a fighting game.
Yeah,
I also don't find those incredibly. They're not for me. Again, I just don't think they're for me.
Yeah.
I'm not really a gamer. But I always think in that, like, how can Superman be in a fighting game? Because surely he just flattens everyone.
He just wins, but I suppose once you're playing it, you don't care. That's the thing. I think a lot of it is like, but he's got it's like, but once you're playing it, who cares? It's like, if loads of people are beating you up, then just take the health down and oh well. So when you're playing Batman, and a thug beats you up, it's not, you're not like, this would never happen.
Just get on the phone.
Oh my God, I just died. Just Batman can't die. He's in the story for bloody hell's sake.
Jeff Jones is like,
the game is the story's not ended and he's dead.
Yeah, I'm sure that's happened.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm probably sure if you were on the internet, you could probably find that message board.
Doesn't make sense. His health goes down. I don't understand.
All right. So to wrap it up, then, if you were gonna, if someone was to come to you, who had never experienced Superman in a visual medium, what 3 things would you advise them to go and watch?
3 things. That's it.
So it could, one film. Yeah, if you're going to say you can't say like all the Christopher Reeves films, one of those films. But what 3 things would you go?
Superman 1. Like Christopher Reeves. That makes sense, doesn't it? Probably the Max Fleischer cartoons. Any one of them really. 3rd one though, maybe like Justice League, something from like the animated one. Just because that's what I grew up with. Because a lot of them, if you'd never watched it and I said Lois and Clark, I feel like you'd come back to me like, that was crap.
Slap you in the face.
Like, how old are you? You need to be 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
I think maybe that. I don't know. Yeah. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's 3. Because there's, I don't know. It is a hard one. Because, I mean, definitely Superman the movie is just like the pinnacle. Like,
it hasn't been beaten, has it?
No, I
don't think so. Like,
because it is a classic. It is like you could show it to anyone now. And I think they'd enjoy it.
Yeah.
It is like it's that sort of era, you know, like Star Wars and all of those films that are still you still enjoy. So I'd love to go back and watch that.
Kids can watch it.
Yeah.
And it still stands up as a kids film. Like no one's beating that film. But what else? Jordan, you got to think of something.
I don't know. Superman 64. It's got to be.
If you want to show someone how not to make a game ever.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of him in other animated forms. Like, I'm sure there's been some fun Superman like as just sort of cameos and stuff, like popping up in like other people's cartoons and stuff. But
this is the thing, like you say. For something that's so ubiquitous, that's so out there as a pop culture icon, if you were to show the Superman-esque to anybody, they would know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But from a visual medium, from like a pop, from a TV and film point of view,
there isn't that many.
There isn't. That's what I'm saying. Like,
you've literally got like Superman 1, 2, and 3. Well, 1, 2, 2, and nothing.
Yeah,
that's it. Like
I think because it's sort of there's a. Even though, like, the trouble is with TV, I mean, I don't know what TV that's being made now will look like, because it's quite
well, they've got there's a Superman in Supergirl now.
Yeah, but that's not great.
I haven't seen the second season, so I haven't really seen it.
But all the TV stuff is massively dated really quickly.
Yeah.
and either that or it's from like before your parents are even born. It's sort of old. So there is sort of this period where he is, even though he's there, the quality versions of him are missing.
There is no, that's the thing. Like, there's no, like with Batman. Like for me, the first book called is Batman the Animated Series. Like,
definitely.
That's a timeless representation of
And
what
it's weird because there is a
Yeah.
Superman animated series from the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But I just don't know. It's
actually quite good.
It's
It was going to
good.
be. I would say for me, I would. Whilst I really enjoyed watching the Fleischer cartoons, I would probably say the Superman cartoon from the 90s does top it because it's a bit more sophisticated in storytelling and some of the animation. Like it keeps that Batman the Animated, the Timverse, or the Bruce Timm and you have the Lex Luthor from that. Is the guy? What's his name? The guy who was the Kurgan in Highlander.
he's like voices stupid amount of stuff.
He is awesome. Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown.
He's amazing, right?
Yeah.
As Lex Luthor, and so the Superman's good. Like, and it goes into one of those things where it's the animated starts with your typical Superman stuff, but they soon introduce like Mr. Mixelplex and other weird shit that goes on, like the Phantom Zone, and it goes those places.
And it's good.
So it's actually worth.
I think I need to go through it. To be
I
honest,
think
I've
it's
only
worth
seen
watching.
A few.
It's not. It never came. I remember seeing it a little bit.
But
I think
I'm sure it wasn't on
re-releasing.
much when we were kids.
No.
It's on. I'm not sure if it's on Prime. It's on
Sorry,
Amazon.
It's on Amazon. Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's on.
It's worth having a look
Yeah.
at. It really
I've
is.
got it. I think I might have bought it ages ago.
It's definitely worth visiting. I would definitely put that as one of the three.
Yeah.
Superman the movie is without a doubt.
Yeah.
Christopher Reeve is
Yeah.
Superman, I think.
Yeah. There's some good like animated movies of Superman, like you know.
Yeah,
like
I was
Superman,
gonna say, they've done some of the
Doomsday and
animated
stuff,
I remember
and,
the
like-
All-Star one was a bit disappointing.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
didn't quite get the gist of it, did it? I
No.
think it was just weird.
There's a Brainiac one.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that's
pretty
alright.
good.
Yeah.
And the Superman Doomsday one.
Have you
Yeah.
seen what is it?
They're doing another one,
tell you-
Superman: The Death of Superman. I don't know if they're-
Yeah, redoing it.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. They're doing it with the new 52 style costume
Yeah.
and stuff.
They tell you which one is actually pretty good, and it really does deal with Superman quite well. It's Superman and the Elite.
Oh yeah, with Black Adam. Not Black Adam.
Manchester
Black. Yeah.
Manchester Black. That's actually because isn't that because that's based on
That
the
is
comic.
all about like Superman not killing
Why not
people
kill him?
and-
'Cause isn't that called What's Wrong with Truth, Justice, and the American Way?
Yeah.
That's a really good story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Superman and the
The Superman Batman ones actually.
Public Enemies and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw them
Yeah,
in.
they're
actually.
good,
I'm
actually.
going to
They
swap
are
them
good.
for.
So but what we're saying is quite categorically we are saying that the animated
Superman stuff is.
animated Superman is better than anything that's really been
Yeah.
on the big screen, other than
Yeah, at least
Superman
for the
movie.
past like
Yeah.
whatever 30 or 40
Yeah.
years or whatever.
probably the last 25 to 30 years. Animated Superman has been better than
100%.
Yeah. Which is crazy, really, isn't it? When
Yeah.
You think about it, like.
Which you know what's weird is that the storyboarder for Man of Steel does directs a lot of the animated films for DC.
Oh,
right.
really?
Yeah,
See, this
but that's why it's like such a long fight scene, I guess, because
Yeah,
'cause
because he gets
free,
he gets
for
carried
free.
away.
just use the
Yeah.
same stuff.
They're a bit like Jeff. We've
Yeah.
got four screens, 4 boards here for this talk. I've got 170 for this fight.
It's like,
Yeah,
well,
sorry, it was amazing.
the animated films are only usually an hour, so what do we do with this extra hour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Oh,
Zach,
I get it.
Zach, do you want these?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's right though. I think from a DC point of view, I think they haven't cracked him since that first film on screen. But I think Henry Cavill could do it.
Yeah.
I really,
If
the
they
right
did it
director.
That is
yeah.
the hope that, like, you know, the follow up to Man of Steel gives us like a modern representation of it in the right way. Like,
I think it would be brilliant. I think
Yeah.
it really could do, because I think the thing is, it's this thing of like DC's got to be gritty, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Batman should
Yeah.
be gritty.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
That's
or or even like something. Give me a gritty cyborg film. That'd be awesome.
I think
Like,
that's the trouble. They
but
look at
Superman isn't gritty. Like,
Yeah.
They look at this, and they're looking too much at like what Marvel do, and it's like, oh, because it's DC, it's got to be one genre.
Yeah.
And it's like the problem is, and this is my problem with the Marvel films, is they're all the same.
Well,
Like, how long does that
they
carry on for?
They will deviate. They have a line, don't they? They have
Yeah.
a core, and they slightly they deviate from it less and less now.
Yeah, that's it.
Because you watch what the first 3 are actually quite different.
Yeah.
First Avenger, Iron Man.
Then they made
Thor.
the Avengers.
Yeah.
After the Avengers,
And it started blurring it. And
they're
then you
all
had
the
like,
same.
I think that's one of the reasons Guardians of the Galaxy felt like
The reason,
amazing
the
film.
reason Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor Ragnarok did so well is because they were so different.
yeah.
And that doesn't mean they're good, if I'm perfectly honest. I like the first Guardians of the Galaxy one.
Yeah,
It was brilliant. Less of a fan of the second one. Hated Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah. I think you've got
I'm
too
gonna-
much invested in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
You have to be like us and go in and thinking you're not going to enjoy every film you
Yeah.
watch.
That's
Oh,
the
you
only-
do
And
that, but like,
that's the way.
I think it is.
That's the only
thing
way
is,
to
it
victory.
was. I think it
It's
was.
the lowest of
Yeah.
expectations.
Well, no, the thing is, I find Taika Waititi stuff funny.
Yeah.
I found What We Do in the Shadows. I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
I think.
Finding the Wildlands. I thought was good.
Yeah.
You know, but I thought like the humour to me,
I think.
like just in Thor Ragnarok, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, so Thor's like a bro douche now, or he's
Yeah.
a bit of a doofus. Like,
But he's never had a character. This is the
no,
problem
that's
with
true.
Thor. He's
Yeah.
different in every film. And
Yeah,
as
it's
well,
bland.
I do think Thor 2 is the worst.
Oh, you know what? Yeah,
like
I'm not-
one of the worst superhero films going.
I can't defend it. I'm not going to defend it.
I've
It's
not
like-
even attempted
Yeah.
Like,
to watch it.
it's up there with Electra.
Yeah, no,
And, like,
it
one of
is
those
a bad
type
film.
films, yeah.
I can't defend it.
So I think no matter what, I'd
Yeah.
have probably been like, well, you
Yeah.
know.
I'm waiting
let's
for
do
them.
that.
I'm waiting for them, and this is why I'm so nervous about like the what do they call them? New Mutants.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah,
that
yeah.
keeps getting pushed back, and I keep hearing them doing massive reshoots because that trailer, when I was like,
Was
they're
cool,
do-
yeah.
I was like, they're doing a superhero horror film. This
Yeah.
looks badass. This looks
Yeah.
like Nightmare on Elm Street 3,
Yeah.
but with powers.
Yeah.
I'm into this. And then it keeps getting pushed back, and I'm like, no. I want
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Something really
It's going to get
different.
to a point where like Disney are like, we own 20th Century Fox, so don't make it.
That's
That's
the rumor now. That it's being pushed back because of that.
Because they're just going to.
Yeah.
They've already said
Sweep it under the rug.
We said we don't want it.
Yeah, like all that footage from the trailer is just going to be like them watching it on TV at the start of the film.
It'll
And
pan
it's just
out.
going to be it's just going to be like a sitcom.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we've covered a lot of Superman stuff.
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
fair. And I think we've come to some pretty solid conclusions
Yeah,
about
yeah,
actually
yeah.
Superman on screen. I'm going to say it here. Go watch animated Superman. I think that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Check out Fleischer cartoons because
Oh,
if
yeah.
you've never seen them,
They're
they're
good.
worth watching to see where the origins came from.
Yeah.
And a very early version of Superman.
Yeah.
Any final comments on Superman on screen before we wrap it up?
Any what? Sorry.
Final comments on Superman.
Final
on screen.
comments. I don't know really. We have.
We've covered it all.
I don't know what else. Is there anything we've missed? I don't think so.
I think so. I think we've done it all.
Not.
Yeah.
And if we have, probably not worth.
Anything we haven't talked about isn't worth talking about. I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, yeah, I think
So if anyone contacts us on Twitter or any of those faces, screw you. I don't want to talk about it.
This
We're
is
done
it.
now. We're
End
done
of
now.
conversation.
Yeah.
Your opinion does not matter.
After listening to us talk about it for this long,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure you'll
Yeah,
be done.
they won't have listened. Most people log off after 20 minutes. I'm joking. No, please stay around.
Come back, please.
Yeah.
Well, if they've stayed on this long, they're not most people anyway.
That's
so,
true.
we
Yeah.
don't mean
Yeah. Thanks, Mum. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for sticking around. If you do want to get in contact or you do want to talk about Superman in any way, please find 20th Century Geek. You can email me, 20thcenturygeek@gmail.com, on Twitter @20th Century Geek. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, all of those under 20th Century Geek because I'm not particularly inventive with logos.
Why be?
And why
Yeah,
not?
why be?
That's what branding's all about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also the big one, okay, I am under 20th Century Geek as well on Patreon, so any submissions or any donations are always welcome to keep the lights on at 20th Century Towers. So, final Superman episode next time, and it's what does Superman mean to me?
Oh.
So it's a bit of a biggie, and I've got a
There you
special. There's a special full stop to all this, which which will be in the episode. So, Matt, Jordan, thank you very much.
Yeah,
And
thanks
we'll,
for having
we'll
us.
catch up again.